Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfiction guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Becomes Yellow Flash? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Namikaze stood at the edge of the training field, the sun casting a warm glow over the landscape. With his blue eyes sparkling with determination and his spiky blonde hair catching the light, he prepared for another day of honing his skills. He was a humble and collected individual, known for his perceptiveness and strategic mind. Izuku understood the importance of every action, always ensuring that he had a reason behind his decisions. As he practiced his chakra control, he felt the familiar surge of energy coursing through him. His abilities included not only the mastery of chakra but also the art of flying, summoning, and various forms of ninjutsu. The half of the nine tails within him granted him immense power, and he was determined to use it wisely. His thoughts drifted to his friends, Hinata and Eno Yamanaka. Both had been by his side through thick and thin, supporting him in his journey. He respected them deeply and appreciated their unique strengths. Hinata's gentle nature complemented Eno's fiery spirit, creating a balance that he cherished. As he continued to train, Izuku reflected on his upbringing. The legacy of his father, Minato Namikes, weighed heavily on him, but he was determined to carve his own path. He would not pry into the personal affairs of others unless absolutely necessary, and he held no grudges, believing that understanding and compassion were the keys to true strength. With a deep breath, Izuku launched into a series of complex maneuvers, his movements fluid and precise. He felt the thrill of pushing his limits, knowing that each challenge brought him closer to his goals. The wind whipped around him as he soared through the air, embodying the spirit of a true hero. Chapter 3. In this peaceful world, people possessed unique traits known as quirks, abilities that had manifested 2 centuries ago and became a significant part of their identities. Quirks played a crucial role in determining one's future career, especially for those who aspired to be heroes fighting against villains, much like in comic books. Unfortunately, not everyone was born with a quirk. About 20% of the population was labeled as quirkless. These individuals faced ostracism and bullying, often leading to tragic outcomes. Society, including hospitals, prioritized those with quirks, leaving the quirkless to struggle for recognition and acceptance. On a branch of a tree, a 10-year-old boy with striking blonde hair and appealing blue eyes watched the children playing in the playground below. He sighed, knowing he could never join them. Ever since he was diagnosed as quirkless, he had been pushed away by his parents, who ignored him, and bullied by his sister and former friends. They aimed to make him give up on his dream of becoming a hero. Despite being only 10, Izuku was considered a prodigy by his uncle Nizu, who recognized his intelligence. Nizu provided Izuku with challenging cases to solve, helping him develop impressive tactical skills. However, Izuku's kind heart remained unchanged, and he held on to the belief that people could change for the better. Yet, he knew he would eventually have to accept that gaining his parents' approval might not be possible. As he continued to observe the joyful children, parents arrived to take their kids home, their laughter and chatter filling the air. Izuku's heart ached at the sight. He longed for someone to share his day with. The playground felt empty, with him as the only one left. Will I ever have something like that one day? He wondered aloud. Yes, you can, a voice responded. Izuku turned to see a man appear before him, smiling kindly. The man bore a striking resemblance to him, though he looked older. I appreciate your words, but I don't know if it's possible to be acknowledged without having the power to be seen as an equal, Izuku replied. Are you going to let them tell you what to do? The man asked. No, I never took their words seriously. That's why I trained hard these past years, Izuku asserted. Then why are you doubting yourself? You have your uncle and grandfather by your side, and you've been praised for your intellect, am I right? The man encouraged. Yeah, you're right. But it hurts that I can't have my parents' and sister's acknowledgement, Izuku admitted, his voice tinged with sadness. I don't want to sound harsh, but you don't need them. They won't see you no matter how hard you try. That's the sad truth, and you must accept it and move on to become strong for yourself, the man said gently. Izuku sighed, realizing the truth in the man's words. No matter how hard he tried, his family would never notice him, as they were focused on his sister's potential as a hero. You are right. They've only been shackles holding me back from my true potential, he declared. Good. I'm glad you understand. Let me introduce myself. My name is Minato Namikase, the man said. Izuku's eyes widened. You mean you're somehow my ancestor? How did you know? Minato asked, surprised. Well, I've been told I have a 200 IQ, and our resemblance is uncanny. Plus, you appeared out of nowhere and seemed to know everything about me, Izuku explained. Minato chuckled. I should have expected that. You are my descendant, and I guess you inherited the prodigy of the Namikes clan. Now, I'm here to help you train and unlock your full potential. What do you say? Izuku couldn't refuse such an offer. After all, he had been seeking strength to be acknowledged, and now his ancestor was offering to help him. He smiled and extended his hand, grasping Minato's firmly. I accept, he said enthusiastically. Great. Now, go home and rest for tomorrow. I want to see how far you've come on your own and how I can train you. But let me warn you, it won't be easy. You might even faint a lot, Minato cautioned. I don't expect you to go easy on me. I want to become strong to be a hero, so I'm ready for whatever it takes, Izuku replied, determination shining in his eyes. Good luck, and let's meet tomorrow, Minato said with a smile. Izuku nodded as he stood up from the branch and jumped down effortlessly, impressing Minato. With a small smile on his face, he thought about how he and Kushina never had the chance to raise Naruto, but now he could guide his descendant to become an exceptional shinobi. Minato thought to himself, hoping that Kushina and Naruto were watching over them. The next day, Izuku dashed toward the forest, ensuring he wasn't being followed. After a few minutes, he arrived at a clearing with 3 posts and a serene lake. He sat on one of the posts, waiting for Minato. Soon, he heard the sound of someone landing behind him and turned to see a smiling Minato. I hope I didn't make you wait long, Minato said. Not at all. I just got here early because I was excited, Izuku replied. Minato smiled back. That's a normal reaction, so don't worry about it. He jumped in front of Izuku, looking him in the eye. Now, I'm sure you want to start, but first, take off your shirt. I want to see how far you've come with your physical training. Oh, of course, Izuku said, removing his shirt to reveal his defined muscles. Minato was impressed. It was clear that Izuku had been serious about his training. However, he knew that building muscles alone wouldn't be enough. They would need to work on agility, flexibility, and more, which could be enhanced with chakra. You've done an excellent job building your body, Minato said. But we have a lot to work on, like agility and flexibility, which will be improved with chakra. Chakra? Izuku asked, curious. Don't worry if you haven't heard of it. It's largely forgotten in history. I can sense that there are still some chakra users, but they are very few. We'll start by activating your chakra, and then we can move on to its uses. I understand, Izuku replied eagerly. Good. Now, sit in a lotus position, close your eyes, and clear your mind. Try to find the energy in your stomach area, and once you locate it, pull it slowly. Izuku nodded and began the exercise. Closing his eyes, he focused and, thanks to his prodigious talent, found the energy without much difficulty. As he pulled it slowly, he felt his senses sharpen and his strength increase, though he also felt a bit dizzy. Good job, Izuku. You've awakened your chakra, Minato encouraged. But you might pass out since this energy is unfamiliar to your body. It's okay. As expected, Izuku passed out, but fortunately he was already on the ground, so he didn't hurt himself. Minato smiled at the unconscious Izuku and settled down, resting Izuku's head on his lap. I hope that by the time I have to leave this world again, I can fill the gap of a father, he thought. A few hours later, Izuku opened his eyes to find himself resting on someone's lap. Looking up, he saw Minato smiling down at him. So, you woke up. Good, Minato said. Thank you. I hope I didn't bother you by sleeping like this, Izuku replied, a bit embarrassed. Nonsense. I chose this, Minato reassured him. Izuku stood up, feeling stronger and more accomplished than before, which didn't go unnoticed by Minato, who smiled at his happiness. Now, we need to go over a few important things, Minato said. What is it? Izuku asked, curious. Chakra is a form of life energy that everyone produces to some degree. If someone runs out of chakra, they will die, so it's best to avoid using it unnecessarily. There are pills to help recover chakra, but that's something to consider for the long run. I see. There's always some form of backlash to every power, Izuku noted. Exactly. Understanding that will make things easier. We'll start with the basics of chakra control. We'll practice walking on trees without using our hands, then move on to water walking. To have good chakra control, a ninja should only mold as much chakra as needed for a technique. If they mold too much, they'll tire out quickly. If they don't mold enough, the technique won't work effectively. I understand now. The tree walk and water walk will help me determine how much chakra I can use and help my muscle memory recognize it, Izuku said. Correct. Now, let's get started. Focus your chakra on the soles of your feet and begin walking on the tree, Minato instructed. For the next 2 hours, Izuku practiced climbing the tree. He fell several times but made progress each time. Eventually, he reached a point where he could walk up the tree successfully. Looking at Minato, he smiled brightly. I did it! Izuku exclaimed. Minato was clearly pleased with his soon-to-be son's progress, a smile brightening his face. Good job, Izuku. You far exceeded my expectations by completing the tree walk in less than 2 hours. But remember, you'll need to practice this every day. Maybe try it at the wall of your house, he encouraged. Thank you. I'll definitely take that advice into consideration, Izuku replied, beaming with pride. As the clock struck 2:30 p.m., Izuku prepared for the final phase of his training, the water walk. He removed his shoes and shorts, leaving him in his boxers, and approached the cold water. Focusing his chakra into the soles of his feet, he attempted to walk across the surface. It felt easy at first, but he soon lost his balance and fell in as the water began to ripple. That's exercise number 2 for chakra control, the water walk. Unlike the tree walk, the water here is unstable, so you need to maintain a constant stream of chakra from the bottom of your feet to walk across the surface, Minato explained. Looks like I have my work cut out for me, Izuku exclaimed, determination shining in his eyes. After getting soaked, Izuku climbed out of the water, undeterred. He resumed his training, but as the day came to an end, he felt a twinge of disappointment for not being able to stay on the water for long. However, Minato offered him a reassuring pat on the head. Don't be disappointed. You've done well on your first day. You've awakened your chakra and excelled at the tree walk, which is impressive in just 2 hours. Most take half a day or even longer, Minato reassured him. You're right. I should be proud of what I accomplished, Izuku said with a renewed smile. Now, take this leaf and place it on your forehead. This exercise is called leaf concentration. It seems you tend to overthink things, and this will help you focus. Channel chakra into the leaf as a focal point. Take as many leaves as you want, practice at home, but remember to eat and get at least 8 hours of sleep, Minato instructed. Yes. Izuku replied enthusiastically, pocketing a few leaves before heading home, a smile on his face. He felt one step closer to his dream of becoming a hero. Streets of Mizudafu, Japan. Time, 2:12 p.m. It had been 4 years since Izuku began his training under Minato, and now at the age of 14, he had hit PBRTY 2 years prior. He had started calling Minato father, and Minato referred to him as son. Their relationship had blossomed, filled with shared stories, mostly from Minato, who often sugar-coated the past for Izuku. Yet, Izuku was no fool. He understood the harsh realities but held deep admiration for his father, known as the Leaf Yellow Flash, who had once defeated an army single-handedly. Izuku had also learned about Kurama, who saw potential in him and agreed to be sealed within him, eager for action after a long time. They worked together to enhance Izuku's chakra, ensuring everything was in balance. As Izuku walked through the peaceful streets of Mizudafu, he wore a tracksuit with 3 stripes on the sleeves, a mesh underarmor, black breaths, and sandals. He couldn't deny the attention he received from girls his age and even older, wondering if his father had faced similar situations. During his walk, he heard the screams of two girls coming from an alleyway. Knowing he needed to act, he rushed toward the sound. Upon arrival, he saw two girls surrounded by tall, intimidating men who wore smirks on their faces. Realizing the danger, Izuku pulled out his father's kunai and threw it in front of the girls, catching the thugs off guard. He swiftly moved in, delivering a powerful punch to the first thug's chin, sending him crashing into the wall. "Anatoly! What the hell are you doing, kid?" one thug shouted, angered by the interruption. "I won't let you harm these girls. If you want to continue, you'll have to get through me first," Izuku declared, his resolve unwavering. "Let's teach that kid a lesson for hitting our brother," another thug growled. Bored with their threats, Izuku swept the legs of the third thug, sending him to the ground. He then kicked him toward the second thug, who tried to catch him but stumbled back instead. Enraged, the second thug lunged at Izuku, but in an instant, Izuku had a sharp object at his throat. "How?" the thug stammered. "You made a mistake by placing him behind you. I used a formula that allows me to teleport to him. I suggest you surrender because I don't want to leave those girls traumatized," Izuku replied calmly. "Fine. I surrender." "You win, kid," the thug conceded. With a smile, Izuku knocked the thug out with a swift chop to the neck. He then pulled out a scroll, shocking the two girls as he applied chakra, summoning chains that wrapped around the three thugs. Satisfied with his work, he decided to call the police to handle the situation. Turning to the two girls, Izuku noticed they were both incredibly appealing. The first girl was slender with fair skin and lavender eyes, her dark blue hair cascading down to her lower back, framing her face with shoulder-length strands. She appeared well-developed, and Izuku couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in having protected them. The second girl had fair skin, light blue eyes, and long platinum blonde hair styled in a ponytail, with bangs framing the right side of her face. Her ponytail reached her waist, and she wore a red clip on the left. Izuku spoke up, "Hello, I'm sorry for what those three were about to do, but the police should be here any minute to take them away. We'll need to stay to give our testimonies." The girl blushed and replied shyly, "It's fine really. My name is Hyuga Hinata." Another girl, also blushing, added, "Thank you for saving us back there. I'm Yamanaka Eno." Izuku's eyes widened in surprise. "Wow, do you two practice chakra by any chance?" He whispered the word to them, and they nodded, which made him happy to see fellow chakra users. "Well, my name is Izuku Namikaze. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lady Hyuga and Lady Yamanaka." Eno smiled, "Just call me Eno, we're the same age." Hinata stuttered, "Same here, just call me Hinata." "Okay if you say so, but I'd like you to call me Izuku," he replied. Eno hesitated before asking, "Can I ask you a question?" "Sure." Izuku responded, "I know we just met, but can we exchange numbers?" Eno asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Sure, I'd love that," Izuku said, and Eno beamed with happiness. Hinata blushed as they exchanged numbers and promised to meet again. Just then, two men landed nearby, causing Izuku to pull out a kunai to protect the girls. However, the dust settled to reveal the girls' fathers. "Eno," her father exclaimed. "Father!" Hinata called out. Hayashi, Hinata's father, looked relieved. "Hinata, I was worried about you." Inoichi, Eno's father, added, "My princess. I heard you were attacked. Who dared to harm you?" The fathers hugged their daughters as they explained everything that had happened. Both fathers then turned to Izuku and bowed in gratitude. "Thank you for saving my daughter from those men," Hayashi said. "Likewise. May I know your name?" Inoichi asked. "No need to thank me, I was just doing what an aspiring hero should do. My name is Izuku Namikaze." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Lord Hayashi and Lord Inoichi," Izuku replied. Hayashi looked shocked. "So you are a descendant of Minato Namikes?" "Yes, that is correct," Izuku confirmed. Inoichi smiled. "I assume you all exchanged numbers. It would be best if you three got to know each other more. It's rare to find a chakra user nowadays." "I would love that," Izuku said. I'm sure you can handle those men now, so I bid you all farewell. I look forward to our next meeting. Goodbye, Izuku, Eno called. Goodbye, Izuku-kun, Hinata added. Izuku jumped away to the roof of a nearby building, leaving the parents to tease their daughters. Hayashi took care of the three thugs, while Inoichi had his fun with them. Later, Izuku had a heartfelt conversation with his father, Minato, about the birds and the bees, which made him blush. Minato took pride in the fact that his son had already found two girls he liked and encouraged him to get along with them. A year had passed since that incident, and both girls had come forward to confess their feelings for Izuku, expressing their willingness to share him. Their parents agreed wholeheartedly when Izuku opened up about his childhood and his progress, which strengthened their trust in him. They decided to arrange a marriage for the three of them, bringing joy to the girls and their mothers, while the fathers and Izuku also enjoyed their time together. Izuku had improved significantly in his training, growing in both size and strength, and had become a full-fledged shinobi. Although he couldn't defeat Minato in a fight due to his father's years of experience, he was determined to keep growing stronger. One day, Izuku walked toward the forest, placing his hands on a post that marked the beginning of his journey. He reflected on how this place signified his rebirth as Izuku Namikaze. Today marked the completion of his training, but it also brought the painful realization that his father would soon have to pass on. Tears streamed down his face as he felt a hand lift his chin, revealing Minato with a sad smile. Is there no other way for this, father? Izuku asked, his voice trembling. Sadly, I must move on. I can't stay here much longer, but I want you to know how proud I am of you and how far you've come, Minato replied. It was all thanks to you, Dad, Izuku said, his heart heavy. No, it was all you. You put in the effort, not me. I am proud to have you as my son, Minato insisted. I'm also happy to have had you as a father. Those 5 years were the best I've ever had, Izuku said, tears still in his eyes. I'm glad. I'm fading now, but I want you to promise me this. Become a strong shinobi who never abandons his family or friends. Promise me to be the greatest hero out there, to eat well and sleep well, to not hold on to grudges or become arrogant, and to respect everyone while doing your best in your studies. I promise, Dad. I will take on your mantle as the next Yellow Flash, Izuku cried. Thank you, son. Now raise your chin high and smile, for you are Izuku Namikaze, my son, Minato said with a wide smile. Izuku raised his head, smiling brightly through his tears. Minato closed his eyes, still smiling, before fading away from Izuku's arms. Izuku fell to the ground, sobbing for an hour before standing up, wiping away his tears. I promise that I will be the best for you, Dad, he declared. Though feeling down, Izuku walked home, knowing this moment would come eventually. It felt like just yesterday that his journey began, but now he would have to advance without his father's help. He entered his room and gazed at a picture of him and Minato, both smiling. It was a day filled with laughter and stories of pranks he used to pull with Kushina, and he couldn't help but chuckle at the memory. Izuku gazed at the second picture, where Minato wore formal attire, smiling with his arm around Izuku's shoulder. The third image captured a moment when Izuku was having a tough day. Minato comforted him by draping his cape over him and offering encouraging words. In the fourth picture, they posed playfully, their elbows colliding and their backs to the camera, only their faces visible. Stop sulking already, brat. Kurama's voice broke through Izuku's thoughts. Though the tone sounded harsh, Izuku sensed the underlying softness. Minato wouldn't want to see you like this. Kurama added. Izuku sighed. Yeah, you're right, Kurama. Thank you for reminding me and for being here. Kurama smirked. It seems the Namikaze clan knows how to appreciate me, the great Nine Tails. His mighty laugh made Izuku chuckle slightly as he adjusted the picture before heading to the bathroom for a shower. Yagi residence. Time, 6 p.m. It had been a month since Minato left to be with his wife and son, Thurdo. Izuku managed to cope with the loss, thanks to Kurama's unwavering support and the longing not to disappoint his father. Kurama had assured him that he would never be disappointed, which brought Izuku some relief. That month was spent with Eno and Hinata, along with her parents, who were like a second family to him. They all mourned Minato's absence but cherished the memories they had shared. Today marked the last day of middle school. Izuku sat quietly, lost in thought, as the teacher approached the podium, prompting the class to settle down. The teacher, an average man in his 30s or 40s with brown hair and a suit, surveyed the bored students. Katsuki and Katsumi had their legs on the desks, swinging their chairs. Katsumi often stole glances at Izuku, who was smiling at something far away, while Shoto stared out the window, seemingly uninterested in the teacher's speech. Shoka pretended to be indifferent but couldn't help sneaking glances at Izuku, admiring his smile and handsome face. Izumi sat nearby, looking equally bored. As third-year students, it's time to start thinking seriously about your futures and what you want to do with your lives. I could hand out some career aptitude tests, but why bother? The teacher snatched the tests from the table, a smirk on his face. Some students activated their quirks in anticipation, while Izuku and the Big Five remained still. I know you all want to go the hero track, the teacher exclaimed. Yeah, the class cheered. Yes, you have some impressive quirks, but no power usage allowed in school. Get a hold of yourselves. Katsuki interrupted arrogantly. Hey teach! Don't lump me in with this bunch of losers. We are the real deal, but these guys will be lucky to end up as sidekicks to some D-listers, His comment ignited anger among the other students, who shouted back at him. You think you're better than us, Katsuki? One student yelled. Let's go. I will take you all on. Katsuki challenged. The teacher chimed in. The Big Five got impressive test results. Maybe they will get into UA High. The students were taken aback. UA was a prestigious high school in Japan, known for producing heroes like the number 1 hero, All Might, and the number 2 hero, Endeavor. They're gonna try for the national school, a female student exclaimed. That school has a 0.2% acceptance rate, another added. It's impossible to get into, someone else chimed in. Izumi declared, this is exactly why it's the only place worthy of us. Katsuki boasted, we aced all the mock tests. We're the only ones at this school who stand a chance of getting in. I'll be more popular than All Might, and will be the richest heroes of all time. People across the world will know who we are, and it all starts with UA High. The teacher turned to Izuku. Oh yeah, Yagi, don't you want to go to UA too? Izuku sighed, now the center of attention. The mocking and belittling from his classmates stung, especially after Katsuki's insults. Yes, I will join UA since I've always wanted to become a hero. Attending UA will help me achieve my goal of saving everyone, not just physically, but also their hearts. It's also my father's dying wish. Confusion spread among the students, particularly Izumi, who knew her father was alive and well. What are you talking about? Dad is doing fine, thank you, Izumi replied. I'm not talking about your father, Izumi. I'm talking about mine. And I would appreciate it if you called me Izuku Namikaze, he stated firmly. The classroom fell silent. The teacher resumed his lecture, but the atmosphere had shifted. Izuku's declaration left everyone stunned, especially Izumi, who felt devastated. Before anyone could respond, Izuku slipped away, using his Flying Thunder God technique to distance himself from the situation. As he walked home, Izuku took a deep breath of fresh air. But just 5 minutes later, an explosion erupted nearby. He turned to see a crowd gathering, with pro-heroes attempting to combat a threat but ultimately giving up. Damn it, he has a hostage, Backdraft said. My quirk doesn't work on him, Death Arm added. Same here, if my wood comes near him, it will be burned, Kemui Woods chimed in. I'll just put out the fire made by the kid, Backdraft replied. We'll have to wait for someone with a suitable quirk, Death Arm concluded. Izuku walked towards the crowd and spotted Katsuki as the hostage. He sighed, disheartened by the pro-hero's behavior. They were supposed to inspire confidence, not openly express their inability to save a hostage. Such remarks could damage the reputation of hero society if the situation escalated and was broadcasted. He locked eyes with Katsuki and noticed the fear in his expression. Despite their differences, Izuku couldn't let him die. In an instant he pulled out a kunai, catching the attention of Death Arm. "Hey kid, what are you doing with that weapon?" Death Arm called out. Before he could say more, Izuku flung the kunai in front of the sludge monster. Suddenly he teleported and appeared directly in front of it, shocking everyone. With his left hand he pulled Katsuki free while his right hand formed a blue sphere, a technique known as the Rasengan, created by his father. "Rasengan," Izuku muttered. The blue sphere struck the sludge, causing it to writhe in pain and scatter across the half-destroyed shops. Izuku placed Katsuki on the ground, who was breathing and looking at him in disbelief. It dawned on Katsuki that Izuku had a quirk all along, which only fueled his irritation. "Come on, Bakugo, you need to be checked by the medic," Izuku urged, extending his hand to help him up. Katsuki slapped Izuku's hand away, glaring at him. "I don't need your help. I was doing fine by myself, I didn't need a loser like you." Izuku shrugged. "Sure. If being suffocated to death is doing fine in your book, then I'm no one to judge." He grabbed Katsuki by his shirt and teleported again, this time in front of Death Arm, securing his kunai back in his pouch. "You should check if he's having trouble breathing. He was suffocated by the sludge for quite some time," Izuku stated. Ignoring the cheers from the crowd celebrating his actions, the pro-heroes were less than pleased. A random citizen shouted out in frustration. "Seriously? Arresting a teen just because he did your job?" one civilian exclaimed. "He wouldn't have interfered if you pros had done your job to begin with," another added. "He's more of a hero than all of you combined. He was the only one who rushed in to save the kid, despite how he treated him," a third civilian chimed in. "If you arrest the kid, we will protest," another voice rang out. One by one, the civilians began to protest, throwing items at the heroes, who looked ashamed. "I only interfered because I knew I had the power to save him. If I had just stood by and watched him take his last breath, I would have felt guilty," Izuku explained. "If you want to arrest me, then so be it." The crowd cheered for Izuku's selflessness, demanding that he not be arrested. The heroes found themselves unable to act against the overwhelming support for the boy. "We will only give you a warning. Be careful not to use your quirk without permission next time," Kamui Woods said reluctantly. "Will do," Izuku replied cheerfully. As he walked away, the crowd parted to let him through, clapping for his heroism. He could already envision his father's proud smile, which made him beam brightly, causing some girls to blush. The entire incident, including the conversations, was recorded and quickly went viral, catching the attention of a family that had forgotten about Izuku for. "He has a quirk?" one of them exclaimed. Chapter end. Location: Yagi residence. Time: 5:30 p.m. Izuku had recently gained fame for his heroic actions, having saved Bakugo from a dire situation. As a result, he became a well-known figure, earning nicknames like Flash and Yellow Flash on social media. However, the heroes present during the incident faced backlash from the community due to their attempt to apprehend Izuku, which did not sit well with the public. Interest in Izuku extended beyond Japan, drawing the attention of a mysterious man with a red scarf and multiple swords, who smirked as he confronted an injured hero. "You're a true hero in the making. I look forward to crossing paths with you, Yellow Flash," he remarked. As Izuku made his way home, he managed to escape the throngs of people clamoring for his attention. Upon entering his house, he was met with the sight of his parents, uncles, and grandfather, all visibly upset. His gaze fell upon a collection of pictures on the table, and his expression darkened as he realized their significance. Location: Yagi residence. Time: 4 p.m. Inside the house, Toshinori, Inko, the Bakugos, minus Katsuki, the Todorokis, Grand Torino, Principal Nizu, and Aizawa were gathered. "Where is that brat? He better not be at the arcade," Mitsuki grumbled. "He said he would be coming, you old hag," Katsumi shot back. Mitsuki playfully slapped Katsumi on the head. "Shut it, brat, and don't call me old hag." The two continued their bickering, while Masaru sighed, accustomed to the antics of his wife and the children. The adults noticed the tension among the kids. "Speak. What happened? You kids are usually so talkative," Enji urged. It's something Izuku said today in class that's bothering us, Shoto replied. Tashinori leaned in. What is it? Izumi explained. Today, during our career application discussion, our teacher mentioned that Izuku aims to attend UA. Naturally, everyone told him to give up on that dream since he's quirkless, but he insisted that it's his dream to become a hero, not just to save people physically, but to heal their hearts as well. Gran Torino and Tashinori exchanged surprised glances, while Nizu and Aizawa grew tense, realizing the bullying involved. Gran Torino, with tears in his eyes, said, "So your ideals live on in him, Nana?" "Continue," Inko urged. Izumi continued, "He also mentioned that it was his father's dying wish. We were confused because you're alive, Dad, but when I asked, he clarified that he was referring to his father, not my father." Katsumi added, "Basically, he just indirectly declared that he doesn't consider you family." Everyone was taken aback, wondering what could have led Izuku to feel this way. Izumi added, "He even calls himself Izuku Namikaze and takes great pride in that name." Nizu thought to himself, Namikes? Could it be? Inko began to panic, wanting to confirm with her son if what he said was true. She was soon followed by Tashinori, Gran Torino, Nizu, Enji, and Aizawa as they headed to Izuku's room. "Sir, why are you coming with us?" Tashinori asked. Nizu replied, "I'm simply curious about something." Nizu had long suspected something unusual about the Yagi family, as neither Tashinori nor Inko mentioned Izuku unless prompted. Enji had picked up on Nizu and Aizawa's secret conversations and wanted to see for himself. Upon entering Izuku's room, they found it simple and unadorned, especially compared to Izumi's. "His room is rather simple," Enji noted. Nizu thought, he is either extremely humble or wasn't allowed to decorate his room. "I will get to the bottom of this." Aizawa interrupted, "Guys, you should see this." Everyone turned to see a table filled with pictures, one of which featured an older version of Izuku smiling alongside his father. Inko and Tashinori felt their hearts shatter, while Gran Torino was surprised by how much the older Izuku resembled Minato. "That's how he'll look when he grows up, definitely a lady killer," Gran Torino remarked. Tashinori quickly added, "This isn't the time for that. He just basically denounced us." Gran Torino insisted, "I know my grandson wouldn't do something like this without a reason." Enji gestured to the computer. "You should see this video." As they gathered around, Enji played a video featuring Izuku and Minato, who were laughing together. "So, Dad, what are you going to teach me today?" Izuku asked eagerly. "How about I teach you this technique? It's an A-rank jutsu I created called Rasengan," Minato replied. "Another technique you created? You're amazing, Dad." Izuku exclaimed. Minato demonstrated the technique, creating a blue sphere of chakra and smashing it into a tree. "That's so awesome. Do you think I can do that too?" Izuku asked. "Of course. After all, you're my son, but it took me 3 years to master it," Minato said. "I'll do it in a much shorter time than you," Izuku declared confidently. Minato chuckled, "Really? I want to see you beat my time. Here, take this ball and try to explode it like this." Minato showed him how to manipulate a water ball, and Izuku excitedly followed suit. "And a video," Nizu remarked. "Well, that's wholesome." "I have to agree," Enji added. Aizawa suggested, "Let's take the pictures and discuss this with the others." They left the room, pushing the two parents, who felt utterly defeated, as they stepped outside. "Where is Izuku?" Rei asked. "He's not in his room, but we found something interesting," Enji replied. They placed the pictures on the table for everyone to see, and shock spread across the room as they gazed at the older version of Izuku, causing Shoka and Katsumi to blush. Katsumi and Shoka thought, "Wow, is that how he'll look when he grows up? I definitely want a quirk marriage after this." Rei patted Inko's back, trying to calm her down, while Masaru attempted to soothe Tashinori. "How about we turn on the TV to take your mind off everything that just happened?" Masaru suggested. Izumi took the remote and turned on the TV, revealing a news broadcast showing the sludge villain holding Katsuki hostage. Mitsuki gasped, "Katsuki!" They watched anxiously as Katsuki struggled against the villain, and the inaction of the heroes only fueled the anger of Endeavor, Gran Torino, Nizu, and Aizawa. Suddenly, a yellow flash appeared in front of the sludge, revealing Izuku. Inko cried, "Izuku! Big brother!" Izumi shouted, "Son!" Toshinori exclaimed. Izuku quickly pulled Katsuki from the sludge and unleashed a powerful technique, causing the villain to splatter everywhere, shocking everyone around him. "He has a quirk!" Toshinori exclaimed. "So he did emissary the technique," Enji added. Aizawa turned to Nizu. "You know something, don't you?" Nizu nodded. "I do. Back before quirks, there was an era of shinobi. They used their own life force to perform techniques like what Izuku just did. It's called chakra. Unfortunately, with quirks, chakra is not something they can learn. When I heard Namikes, I realized Izuku is a chakra user because that is a shinobi clan. Which is stronger, a quirk or this chakra?" Katsumi asked. "Chakra is much stronger than quirks. Izuku can use various elemental techniques. He is a walking arsenal," Nizu explained. Everyone was astonished by the revelation and waited for Izuku to discuss his connection to Minato, his renouncement of the Yagi name, and his newfound abilities. Izuku stood face to face with his family, a small smile on his face. However, upon seeing the pictures of him and his father, his expression darkened. Slightly. It was clear they had entered his room without permission and rummaged through his belongings. Remembering his father's advice, he calmed himself and approached the table to pick up the pictures, looking at them with a smile. "Next time, please ask for permission before you come into my room and go through my things," he said. "Sorry, Izuku," Nizu replied. "We were curious after what Izumi told us about you renouncing your family." He gestured to Inko, who was crying, and Toshinori, who looked distressed. "Sorry, uncle, but I think you misunderstood. I only had one family member, and he died a year ago. He was my father, the one who believed in me and didn't mock my dream of becoming a hero." Izuku turned to leave, but Toshinori grabbed his hand, tears welling in his eyes. "We are your parents, Izuku. Who is this person you say took you from us?" "What are you talking about? He never took me away. You pushed me away because you prioritized Izumi. I found someone who filled the role you left empty, that's all," Izuku replied. Nizu interjected, "I suspected for some time that you have been neglecting Izuku. Care to explain why?" Gran Torino chimed in, "Neglect? Why would he neglect his own son? He was quirkless once too, so he should understand Izuku better than anyone." "Did they really push you away?" Enji asked. Izuku sighed, "Yes, they did. They all made excuses about Izumi being the priority. I gave up on getting attention. Izumi and the others bullied me for wanting to be a hero, and the teachers encouraged it." The parents were shocked, but their expressions soon turned to anger as they glared at their children. "What were you two thinking?" Rei demanded, especially directing her anger at Shoka. "You told me you loved Izuku, yet you treated him this way." Mitsuki added, "Is this how teens show love these days? Through violence and bullying? We just wanted him to give up on being a hero because we were afraid he would get hurt," Izumi defended. "Who do you think I am?" Nizu replied. "I wouldn't let someone graduate from my school without ensuring they are prepared to face villains. Being a hero doesn't mean you have to be on the front lines. There are heroes like Recovery Girl, or even someone like me, who plan from an office. Izuku is a prodigy, he can match my IQ." "Wait, are you saying he's close to your IQ?" All Might asked. "Yes, he had an IQ of 205 years ago," Nizu confirmed. "Imagine what it would be now," Enji mused. Aizawa sighed. "Izuku, do you want to live with me?" "Wait, Aizawa, you can't just take our son from us," Inko protested. "I think you lost that right a long time ago," Aizawa replied firmly. Izuku shook his head. "No need. My future family is offering me a place with them, so thank you for the offer." Everyone was stunned as they processed Izuku's words, waiting for him to show some sign of regret, but he remained resolute. "What do you mean, future family?" Shoka asked. "I'm in an arranged marriage with 2 girls of my choice," Izuku explained. Toshinori interjected, You can't make such a decision on your own. You need our permission. I already have my father's permission. We're happy with this arrangement. It's for the good of our clans, Izuku stated. Nizu added, so you're engaged to 2 chakra users? Correct. Now, if you'll excuse me, Izuku said, walking away and leaving the Yagi family devastated, realizing they had lost their son, while the girls felt a sense of hopelessness regarding their feelings for him. It had been 2 months since Izuku made it clear to the Yagis that he no longer considered them family. Katsumi and Shoka attempted to win him over with their charms, but Izuku remained steadfast, loyal to his fiancées. Toshinori and Inko had attempted to find a way to have the engagement with Izuku voided, believing they still had a say in who he should be with. However, their efforts did not go as planned. The moment they broached the topic, Hayashi had swiftly intervened, and Inoichi used his abilities to influence their thoughts. Izuku, standing firm, threatened to take the matter to court, revealing the wrongdoings of the parents that could tarnish their reputations and jeopardize their daughter's enrollment in UA or any hero school. He was willing to overlook their actions, understanding that they had been misled by the teachers at Aldra. After a brief pause, Toshinori and Inko decided to try again, but Principal Nizu stepped in, placing a restraining order on them and warning them about the consequences of their actions, including the potential blacklisting of their children and friends. The following 2 months were filled with stress, particularly for the 2 girls who feared being separated from the boy they had come to love. To ease their worries, Izuku devised a plan that the parents supported, appreciating his dedication. Izuku made his way to Eno's room, where she and Hinata were enjoying some light-hearted moments, braiding each other's hair and experimenting with makeup. He knocked on the door, and Hinata greeted him with a warm smile. Izuku wrapped his arm around her and shared a gentle kiss, which she happily returned. "Can I come in?" he asked. "Yes, come in," Hinata replied. As Izuku entered, he admired the room decorated in Eno's favorite color, purple, with flowers and makeup scattered about. Eno turned to him, her face lighting up as she ran over and jumped into his arms, planting a kiss on him. "Did you come to see me do some makeup?" she asked excitedly. "I wouldn't mind watching you both. You look appealing with or without it," Izuku replied. Eno beamed at his compliment. "You know how to make a girl happy, thank you." Izuku then shifted the conversation. "I want to talk to you about something." "Sure. Come sit here," Eno said, motioning to her bed. They settled down in a comfortable silence, with Hinata on one side and Eno on the other. "I know these past 2 months have been hectic with everything going on, so I thought it would be nice to take you both on separate dates," Izuku proposed. The girls' faces lit up with joy, and they hugged him tightly, nearly overwhelming him with their excitement. "I would love that," Eno exclaimed. "Me too," Hinata added. "I'm glad you both agreed. Now, who wants to go first?" Izuku asked. Hinata spoke up. "Eno, you should go first since I have something to take care of with my mom." "Great. So when's the date?" Eno asked eagerly. "Tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. I've already made plans, and you can shop as much as you want since I know you enjoy it," Izuku replied. Eno's eyes sparkled with delight. "You're the best boyfriend." She jumped up, hugging him and showering his face with kisses before rushing to her wardrobe to pick out her outfit. As Izuku stood by the door, he looked back at the 2 girls. "I'll leave you both to continue your fun. If you need anything, just call me." "Okay, goodbye, Izuku-kun," Hinata called. "See you later, darling," Eno added. Feeling accomplished, Izuku left the room and headed to his own, leaving the girls to enjoy their time together. The next day at 11:30 a.m., Izuku donned a sharp blue outfit that made him look like a martial artist. He carried some kunai, just in case he needed to use his Flying Thunder God technique, but he had already marked the house for convenience. When Eno opened her door, Izuku was taken aback by her stunning appearance in a lovely dress, her hair flowing freely. She looked like a goddess in his eyes, causing him to blush. Eno noticed and smiled, twirling around to show off her outfit. "Like what you see," she teased. "You look appealing, Eno," he replied, his admiration evident. Eno beamed and wrapped her arms around him as they stepped out of the clan compound, her mother capturing the moment with photographs while Inoichi watched with tears of joy. As they walked, Eno asked, "So, what do you have planned for me, my prince?" Izuku smiled. "Aside from a shopping spree, the rest will remain a secret to keep the fun alive." Eno pouted playfully but accepted his answer. They arrived at Kyashi Ward, a mall bustling with stores. Eno's eyes sparkled with excitement as she took in the sights. Fortunately, the morning crowd was light, allowing them to enjoy their time together. As they entered the mall, some fans recognized Izuku and began taking pictures, which made him sigh. "Annoyed, are we?" Eno smirked. "Well, I thought they would have forgotten about me by now," he replied. "Don't worry. Now, let's go shopping," she exclaimed, grabbing his hand and leading him through the stores. They browsed, occasionally buying items, and left feeling satisfied with their finds. "Now it's time for the next part of our date," Izuku announced, taking her arm and guiding her toward the cinema. He let her choose the movie, which turned out to be a romantic film. He happily bought the tickets, popcorn and drinks, and they found their seats at the back for a good view of the screen. "I can't wait to see the movie," Eno said excitedly. "Likewise," Izuku replied with a smile. "I've heard this movie is so cute and romantic," she added, her enthusiasm infectious. Izuku glanced at the screen, excitement bubbling within him. Well, they should be starting now. As if on cue, the movie began its countdown from 3 to 1. The film was a blend of romance and heartache, filled with sacrifices that brought tears to Eno's eyes, but also moments of joy that had the audience cheering. Izuku took the opportunity to record the moment, capturing the atmosphere of the cinema. When a kiss scene appeared on screen, Eno looked at Izuku, and he understood her silent invitation. They leaned in closer, their lips meeting softly. Eno wrapped her arms around his neck, while Izuku held her waist and caressed her cheek. They weren't the only couple sharing this moment. Many others in the theater were caught up in the romance as well. To their surprise, the cinema had a camera feature that captured couples during the film. By the end of the movie, photos were printed and distributed, initially startling the couples but ultimately bringing smiles to their faces. Eno's eyes sparkled as she admired the picture of them together while they walked out of the cinema. "This is amazing! Who would have thought they took pictures of us?" Eno exclaimed. Izuku smiled. "I didn't expect it, but I don't mind. It's something to remember." "Yes," Eno said, wrapping her arms around him once more and planting a kiss on his lips, her happiness evident. She loved how the date had unfolded and felt that it was far from over. Izuku decided to take her to a popular spot where couples often danced. Knowing Eno enjoyed dancing, he led her to the area where others were already moving to the music. Excitedly, she took hold of his arm and they joined in, even asking some nearby to take pictures of them as they danced, looking like the perfect couple in the eyes of onlookers. As the sun began to set, Izuku planned to conclude the date with a dinner at a classy restaurant. They ordered their meals and chatted about their day, both having a wonderful time. To make the evening even more special, Izuku blindfolded Eno and used his flying thunder god technique to teleport them to a appealing field filled with flowers under a starry sky. When he removed the blindfold, Eno gasped in awe at the breathtaking view. "It's appealing, Izuku. I've never seen anything like this in my life." "Glad you liked it," he replied, pleased with her reaction. Out of nowhere, he spread a picnic blanket on the ground and gestured for her to sit. Eno rested her head on his shoulder as they watched the sunset, and they shared a deep, heartfelt kiss as the day turned to night. "That's so appealing," Eno exclaimed, her eyes shining with wonder. "That it is," Izuku agreed. "I feel so at peace," she said, content in the moment. They lingered for another hour, soaking in the tranquility before Izuku picked her up and teleported them back to the compound. As they arrived, Inoichi and her mother greeted them, curious about how the date had gone. Eno rushed to share every detail, including the photos and videos, and her parents were thrilled for her, expressing interest in visiting the field themselves. "Inoichi, how did you find that field?" Inoichi asked Izuku. "I have a habit of exploring the city, so I stumbled upon it. It was the perfect way to end our date," Izuku explained. "That's appealing. Please tell me its location. My wife and I would love to go there," Inoichi said. Already took that into account. Izuku replied, handing him a paper with the field's location. Inoichi smiled and went inside with his wife, leaving Izuku and Eno beaming as they walked in together, happy to place their shopping bags in their respective rooms. Eno couldn't wait to tell Hinata all about her special date with Izuku. 2 days later. It had been 2 days since Izuku and Eno's memorable date, and now it was Hinata's turn. He walked to her room and knocked on the door. It opened to reveal a shy Hinata, her small smile brightening as she looked at him. "How do I look, Izuku-an?" she asked shyly. "You look stunning, Hinata." Izuku replied. "Really?" she asked, her cheeks flushing. "Yes. You're appealing just the way you are," he assured her. "Thank you," she said, her blush deepening. Taking her hand, they stepped outside. Unlike Eno, Hinata wasn't one for shopping sprees, so they decided on a simple walk through the park. Their conversation flowed easily, and Hinata gradually became more comfortable, even stopping her stuttering. They eventually found a cafe and settled in. Hinata ordered a cinnamon roll and coffee, while Izuku chose dango with his coffee. "So, Hinata, how do you like it so far?" he asked. "It's amazing, Izuku-kun," she replied, her eyes sparkling. "I'm glad you're enjoying the cafe," he said with a smile. As they ate, Hinata shared stories about her family and her aspirations, including mastering the 8 trigrams 64 palms and other clan techniques. Izuku listened intently, sharing his own goals of creating variations of the Rasengan and the Flying Thunder God technique, which left Hinata in awe of the challenges he faced. After finishing their meal, they decided to watch a romantic movie, which was a different one than the previous day. Hinata was completely absorbed in the film, her fingers fidgeting nervously during the kiss scenes. She kept glancing at Izuku, her cheeks flushed, revealing her shyness. Knowing she wouldn't initiate a kiss, Izuku gently cupped her cheeks and pressed his lips against hers. Hinata's blush deepened, but she closed her eyes and kissed him back. When they finally parted, Izuku smiled. "That wasn't hard, was it?" he asked. Hinata smiled in response. "Yeah. Listen, Hinata, if you want to kiss me, you can. You're my fiancé, along with Eno, so don't hold back." Hinata nodded, and they shared another kiss, her arms wrapping around him as he deepened the embrace. They remained like this until the movie ended, capturing a picture of their kiss together before leaving. Next, Izuku took Hinata shopping. Picked out a few pretty items, but remained modest in her choices. Afterward, he took her hand and led her to their final destination for the date. Knowing her shy nature and discomfort in public spaces, he decided to do something special. Using Flying Thunder God, they arrived at a appealing cherry blossom grove. "This is appealing, Izuku-kun. But why did you bring me here?" Hinata asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Well, my princess, this is a hidden gem, and I know how much you love cherry blossoms. You even have one in your clan compound. I thought we could have a picnic here, just the two of us, away from prying eyes." Hinata blushed but then beamed with happiness as they sat on the grass, cherry blossom petals falling around them like gentle rain. She took pictures and selfies with him, completely immersed in the beauty of the moment. They enjoyed handmade food prepared by her mother, and Hinata felt more at ease without anyone watching. She moved closer to Izuku, resting her hand on his chest. "So, how is it, Hinata? I've marked this place, so if you ever want to visit again, just let me know," Izuku said. "I think it's appealing, Izuku-kun. This is the best date I've ever had, and I would love to come here again," she replied. "Then it's settled," he said cheerfully. As their date concluded, they shared a sweet kiss before Izuku teleported Hinata back to her home, showering her with cherry blossom petals. Her parents, witnessing the scene, smiled knowingly as Hinata approached them with a radiant smile, making them proud. Meanwhile, Izuku teleported back to his own home. Day of entrance exam. Today was the entrance exam, a chance for Izuku to put his training to the test. He felt confident, knowing he could use weapons, just like Hinata and Eno. He wanted to prove himself through hard work, not by taking shortcuts, a value he inherited from his father, Minato. Izuku understood that entering UA would come with challenges. He was not your average guy, he was handsome and well-built, which meant he often attracted attention from girls. Some even tried to approach him, but Izuku held strong to his morals and refused to be swayed by superficial gestures. He found it amusing that some would claim they could easily win over girls when they didn't even meet basic standards. He was determined not to pursue a HRM route. Instead, he preferred to dedicate himself to his two girlfriends, Hinata and Eno, rather than juggle multiple relationships, which he felt would be overwhelming. As he walked toward the entrance exam, Izuku was flanked by his two girlfriends, who clung to his arms, making it clear to others that he was taken. Any girl who dared to look at him with interest would face the fierce glares of both Eno and Hinata. Hinata had grown significantly over the past year. Once self-conscious about her appearance, she had started to embrace her beauty, thanks to Izuku's encouragement. She had shed her baggy clothes and now wore outfits that highlighted her figure, much to her father's approval. Eno had also matured, realizing that she couldn't rely solely on her clan's jutsu. Along with Hinata, she had taken up medical ninjutsu, expanding her skill set and earning her father's respect for her dedication to training. Izuku felt proud to have supported both of them on their journeys. No one POV. Auditorium. Izuku walked through the gates of UA, making his way to the auditorium. He and his friends took their seats, settling in as they awaited the start of their exams. They began to scout the competition, but nothing particularly stood out. The only person who caught their attention was Shikamaru Nara, who, despite his lazy posture, had a certain presence. Izuku remembered meeting him before. He was known for rarely leaving his home unless his mother forced him. Next to Shikamaru was Choji Akimichi, a friendly guy who was munching on chips. Izuku had also met him before, but he knew Choji could get upset if someone called him fat. The lights dimmed, and a man in a brown trench coat with a unique face approached the podium. This was Ectoplasm, a hero and staff member at UA. Hello, aspiring heroes. Today, you will be taking the written portion of the entrance exam. I wish you all luck, and remember, cheating is prohibited. Anyone caught will be disqualified, he announced. The crowd accepted this without issue as Ectoplasm cloned himself to distribute the exam papers. Shikamaru lazily took his paper while the others began writing their names, waiting for further instructions. Now you can all turn your papers. Good luck, Ectoplasm said. Everyone opened their exam papers and started filling them in. Izuku, along with Hinata and Eno, quickly completed the test, which consisted mostly of basic knowledge from middle school. Thanks to his sensory ninjutsu, Izuku could sense the emotions of those around him. Most were panicking, some were confident, and others, like Shikamaru, were writing slowly. Izuku thought to himself, he's probably being pressured by his mother. He finished the exam in less than 30 minutes and walked up to Ectoplasm to hand in his paper. Ectoplasm nodded, having heard about Izuku from Principal Nizu, and began correcting the exam. Izuku then moved to another room where they would explain the battle portion of the exam. It wasn't long before Shikamaru entered the room, spotted Izuku, and took a seat nearby. Hello, Izuku. Shikamaru greeted. Hello, Shikamaru. I'm surprised you didn't take your time, Izuku replied. Troublesome mother told me if I didn't get a good score, I'd be in trouble. When I saw you leave the room, I figured I might as well finish the exam to get more time to sleep, Shikamaru grunted. Well, we have about an hour and a half before the exam ends. I'll wake you up later, Izuku said. Thanks, Izuku. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need a nap. Shikamaru placed his jacket over his face and quickly fell asleep. Wow, he sure does sleep fast, Izuku remarked. 20 minutes later, Hinata and Eno entered the room and ran over to hug Izuku before taking their seats next to him. Eno glanced at the sleeping Shikamaru and sighed. Doesn't that lazy bum do anything but sleep? Eno asked. Let's not disturb him, Eno. I'm sure he didn't sleep well last night. Hinata replied. Eno quieted down as more students filled the room. Choji greeted them and sat next to Shikamaru, pulling out more chips to share. Hinata and Eno politely declined, but Izuku accepted Choji's offer, making him happy. What do you think we'll do for the battle portion? Choji asked. Well, I assume it will involve robots. Considering the principal is my uncle, Izuku answered. I think we can handle it easily. Eno added confidently. That's true to some extent, but knowing him, there will likely be a strong robot involved, Izuku cautioned. Shikamaru woke up, slightly annoyed by the chatter, but adjusted himself in his chair. Choji patted him on the back with a smile. Poor Shikamaru, Choji said. Those people are troublesome. Shikamaru replied. Anything is troublesome for you, Shikamaru, Eno teased. Well, I can't deny that. Shikamaru admitted. Suddenly, the lights in the room dimmed again, and a man with banana hair entered, grinning widely. Why do I feel like something bad is about to happen? Shikamaru and Eno exchanged worried glances. Cover your ears, Izuku urged. They complied just as the man shouted, nearly deafening them even with their ears covered. Hello everybody. It's your cool DJ present mic. Can I get a hey? No one responded and many shot glares at him, especially those with enhanced hearing. Tough crowd. Today, you'll be doing the practical test where you will have to destroy 3 robots, Present Mike announced. Before he could explain further, a boy with blue hair, reading glasses, and a brown suit raised his hand. Sir, he called out. Yes, examiner number 142, what is your question? Present Mike replied. Eno muttered under her breath, I already met that kid, and I want to strangle him. It says here that there are 4 robots, but you only mention 3. If this is a misprint in UA material, then this school should be ashamed. We are exemplary students and expect the best from Japan's most notable school. A mistake like this is unacceptable, the boy continued, pointing at Izuku and Shikamaru. You two have the same uninterested look. If you're not serious about this, then leave. Eno was about to lash out, but Izuku grabbed her hand and signaled her to sit down. He stood up with a smile, unfazed by the boy's remarks. Title: The Battle Begins. Izuku stood up, addressing the room with confidence. Excuse me, but we've already read the pamphlet to understand how the test will go. Listening to present mic was optional for those who prefer audio or have difficulty reading. So please, don't jump to conclusions. As for my friend here, he tends to doze off, so please excuse him. I also ask that you wait until present mic finishes explaining the test before asking questions. Interrupting him is not a good trait for aspiring heroes. A moment of silence followed his words. The blue-haired boy, embarrassed, stopped working, and the sound of a computer shutting down echoed through the room. Some students began to snicker at his discomfort. Thank you, Shikamaru said, opening one eye. No problem, Shikamaru, Izuku replied. Eno grinned. You utterly destroyed him. Choji added. I can see why Dad said you were a natural-born leader. Thank you, Choji. You all have the potential to be great leaders too, Izuku encouraged. Present Mike chimed in. Thank you, examiner number 236. What you said is correct. And for you, examiner number 142, the 4th robot is a 0-pointer, an obstacle that should be avoided, as it won't earn you any points. Now, check underneath your seats for a card with your battle center information. Izuku glanced at his card. Looks like it's me and Hinata in Battle Center B. Eno looked at her card. It's me, Shikamaru, and Choji in Battle Center C. Hinata smiled. It's the Ina Shikacho team. That looks great, Izuku said. Although Eno felt a bit disappointed not to be paired with Izuku, she knew Shikamaru and Choji were skilled shinobi, so she wouldn't underestimate them. They stood up to change into their battle attire. Location: Battle Center B. Izuku wore a white jacket and shinobi breathes, his ninja pouch secured at his side. He had a bright smile that made many girls in the battle center blush. Hinata stood beside him, smiling as she held his hand. So, how do you think we will do? She asked. We'll do just fine, Hinata-chan. Izuku replied enthusiastically. I'm glad I added jutsu to my skills, Hinata said. Me too. It would have been tough to handle all those robots without a long-range attack, Izuku agreed. Their conversation continued until present Mike climbed the tower, beaming with excitement. Are you ready? Izuku and Hinata muttered, Poor guy. The room fell silent as the metal door opened slowly. Izuku threw his kunai into the city and, holding Hinata's hand, teleported to the kunai, gaining a head start. Other students watched in shock as Izuku appeared in a flash of yellow light, some recognizing him as the boy from 10 months ago. What are they doing? Present Mike didn't say start, one student exclaimed. They're going to fail, another added. No. Listen up, kids. There are no countdowns in a real battle. They got the right idea. Present Mike corrected. The students paled at his words and rushed into the city, witnessing the chaos as robots lay scattered, some pierced, some scorched, and others missing their heads. Those two are brutal, one student remarked. Just shut up. They got a head start. We need to get points to pass, another responded. They quickly dispersed, eager to destroy robots and earn points. Location: staff room. Cementos observed the scene. Quite a good batch this year. Principal Nizu nodded. It is indeed. Aizawa pointed at Izuku, Hinata, Eno, Choji, and Shikamaru. I want those 5 in my class. Snipe raised an eyebrow. I can understand Namikes, but why the other 4? Aizawa replied, Eno, Choji, and Shikamaru have an unbreakable teamwork I haven't seen in years. As for Hinata, her ability to block quirks is incredibly useful in the field. Vlad sighed. Can't you leave me one of them? Aizawa smirked. No. All Might asked, what about Izumi? How is she doing? Nizu answered, she scored average compared to Izuku and the others. How much did she score? A psychic inquired. 33 points. The 5 scored above 60 by now, Nizu informed them. All Might and the psychic realized how strong Izuku had become. They had cast him aside, but now he was thriving without them. Nizu and Aizawa exchanged smirks, observing the somber expressions on All Might and the psychic's faces. Nizu thought, that will teach them that money can't fix broken relationships. Now, let the final phase of the battle portion begin, Nizu announced, unlocking the safety glass and pressing a red button with keen interest, eager to see how Izuku would handle an enemy larger than a 2-story building. Midnight, concerned, asked, is it wise to send the 0-pointer this early in the game? Nizu replied, the hero industry is all about the unexpected. If they can't handle it, they should reconsider their choice of hero school. We expect good candidates. Aizawa agreed, indeed, sir. Location: Battle Center B. Izuku flashed in front of a 3-pointer and swiftly slashed it down, cutting its wires. He stood tall, wiping the sweat from his brow. That would be 124 points. Hinata was busy striking robots in specific areas, causing them to malfunction. 89 points, she exclaimed, smiling. Good job, Hinata. Izuku praised. Thank you, Izuku-kun, she replied. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, causing students to panic, thinking it was an earthquake. But it was just the 0-pointer emerging from the ground. Izuku whistled, impressed by its size. Seeing it in person was far more daunting than in the pamphlet, and he knew he was in for a workout. Izuku heard a desperate cry for help and quickly turned to see a girl with brown hair, her face flushed with fear. She was trapped under a large rock, while others rushed past her, ignoring her plight. Frustration bubbled within him. A true hero wouldn't abandon someone in need. With determination, he threw a kunai next to her and dashed over, a reassuring smile on his face that made her blush. Don't worry, I'm here to help you, he said, kneeling beside her. I think I sprained my ankle, she replied, wincing. Izuku nodded, his smile unwavering as he lifted the rock off her leg and carefully placed her on his back. He then teleported towards Hinata, who immediately understood what to do. Using her medical ninjutsu, she began to treat the girl's injury, and soon, the girl expressed her gratitude. Thank you. My name is Achiko Uraraka. I'll go earn more points now, but really, thank you. Don't mention it, Hinata replied with a warm smile. With a quick motion, Izuku threw a kunai at the back of the 0-pointer and teleported to the command box. He opened it and cut the wires, successfully shutting down the massive robot. Although he had considered using a giant Rasengan to end the fight, he knew it would cause unnecessary damage to the surrounding buildings, which he wanted to avoid. In the staff room, Power Loader sighed in relief. Thank goodness he's the first student in ages who didn't destroy my zero-pointer. It cost us a lot. The other staff members chuckled at his antics, knowing how much he cared for his creations. Aizawa chimed in, this just reinforces why those two, along with the others, should be in my class. Izuku could have ended the fight with that blue sphere, but he chose to disable it instead to protect the surroundings. That's smart. And the Hyuga girl seems to have some sort of medical quirk on top of her original abilities. Recovery Girl added, it looks like the blonde girl, Yamanaka, has a similar quirk. Having two exceptional healers in the school will definitely lighten my workload. Nizu nodded. It's settled then. The 5 of them will be joining UA Class 1A under Aizawa. Aizawa smirked, almost ready to tease Vlad the Mighty but decided against it as he prepared to leave, knowing the test was already over. Present Mike announced, the test is over. Please head to the front of the city you're in. As the students quieted down, they reflected on Izuku's impressive performance. He had stopped the zero-pointer without causing destruction, while others had wasted their time demolishing it, endangering the city in the process. Those students were now disqualified. Power Loader had to be restrained by the staff to keep from confronting those who had recklessly destroyed the robot. Well, the test is over. Izuku said cheerfully. 100 points. Hinata exclaimed. 142 points. Izuku replied, grinning. As they exited the battle center, Achiko thanked them once more before they rejoined their friends. Shikamaru yawned, looking ready to sleep, while Choji, slightly bruised, complained about his hunger. Eno, feeling annoyed, suddenly jumped on Izuku and gave him a quick kiss, which he returned. So, how did you 3 do? Izuku asked. I got around 92 points. Eno said proudly. It was troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. I'm really hungry for barbecue. Choji chimed in, his eyes sparkling. Izuku smiled. Since we all did well, how about we go for barbecue, just like Choji suggested? I'm hungry too, so I don't mind, Eno replied. Really? Really? Choji exclaimed, excitement lighting up his face. Yes, Choji. Let's go. I think the barbecue is waiting for you to devour it, Izuku said, chuckling. Out of nowhere, Choji pulled out a fork and knife, drooling at the thought of food. Wait for me, barbecue. The 5 young shinobi headed to a barbecue shop, where Choji's appetite led them to feast heartily. Izuku stood in front of UA, smiling as he reflected on the long week. He had made the mistake of inviting Choji to dinner, which had drained his funds. He sighed, feeling a bit down, but was comforted by Eno and Hinata, while their parents laughed at the situation. Here we are, he announced. It feels surreal to be accepted into UA, Hinata said, her eyes wide with wonder. I just hope we don't have to deal with them, Eno added, her expression serious. Izuku patted both of his girlfriends reassuringly. He knew there was a good chance of encountering his former family and bullies, but he was determined to face any challenges head-on, especially with the staff on their side. Don't worry, they know as well as I do that they're on thin ice, he assured them. As long as they don't bother us, I won't do anything, Eno said, crossing her arms. Izuku and Hinata exchanged amused glances as they walked into the school, searching for their classroom. After about 10 minutes of navigating the hallways, they finally found Class 1A. Izuku and Hinata were smiling, while Eno fumed at the number of turns they had to take. What is this school, a maze? Eno exclaimed. It was a bit long, but I'm sure there's a reason, Hinata replied. Well, Nizu likes to make things interesting with long halls and big doors, Izuku explained. But let's not chat too long, we need to get inside the class. Izuku opened the door to find his classmates Shikamaru sleeping and Choji munching on chips. Despite the presence of his usual tormentors, he felt indifferent at the moment, as he had his friends with him. He walked inside, followed by his 2 girlfriends, and was about to take a seat when a blue-haired boy rushed toward him. Eno prepared herself, thinking she might have to intervene if the boy acted up, but instead he simply made a hand gesture. Ida Tenya from semi-private middle school. He introduced himself. I want to apologize for my rudeness during the entrance exam. You figured out the secret passage easily, As a student, you are clearly superior to me. Hinata, Eno, and Izuku exchanged surprised glances. They hadn't expected an apology but appreciated it nonetheless. Izuku smiled gently, causing the girls in the class to blush at his charm, while Eno felt a sense of pride for being one of his girlfriends. "Don't worry about it. I'm Izuku Namikaze," he replied. "I would love to chat more, but I think our teacher has waited long enough for us to settle down. Let's take our seats and talk during lunch." The class was slightly confused as Izuku walked past Ida and sat down with Hinata and Eno. Before anyone could ask further questions, a sleeping bag appeared in the room, shocking everyone. It unzipped to reveal Shoyuta Aizawa, also known as Eraserhead, who wore a small grin. "Good job, Namikes. Your senses are sharp as ever," Aizawa said. "It took you all 5 seconds to calm down, which won't do. A rational student would know better. So take this P uniform you received with your UA clothes and meet me outside on the field. Be quick." Izuku stood up with Eno and Hinata, walking outside the classroom. Shikamaru, still looking tired, followed behind them, with Choji still munching on his chips. Aizawa gave Shikamaru a knowing look before turning back to the shocked class. "What are you waiting for? An invitation?" Aizawa said, prompting everyone to move to the changing room. They quickly changed into their P uniforms and headed to the training field, with Izuku, Eno, and Hinata being the first to arrive. "We're going to do a quirk assessment test," Aizawa announced. The class gasped in unison. "Quirk assessment test? But we're going to miss orientation," Uraraka protested, looking disheartened. "If you want to make it to the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies," Aizawa replied. "Here at UA, we aren't bound by traditions, which means I can run my class as I see fit. You've been taking standard tests most of your life, but you've never used your quirk in physical exams before. The country is still pretending we're all created equal by not letting those with the most power excel. One day, the Ministry of Education will learn. Izuku Namikaze, you scored the highest in the entrance exam. What was your farthest throw with a softball in junior high?" 90 meters. Izuku answered confidently. "Try doing it with your quirk. Anything goes, just stay in the circle," Aizawa instructed. Izuku nodded and took the ball from Aizawa's hand, stepping into the circle. He coated his hand with chakra, which began to glow with a blue aura, impressing everyone around him. The aura then shifted to a dark red, indicating he was using a portion of Kurama's chakra. He threw the ball as far as he could, and it became a blur, moving so fast that Aizawa's phone displayed an error message. "Well, you're the first to get an error," Aizawa said with a grin. "What does that mean?" Yaoyorozu asked, puzzled. "It means your power was too strong to be measured," Aizawa explained. The class was in awe, while Katsuki and Shoto clenched their fists in frustration. They didn't like that Izuku was so powerful, especially since he had been quirkless just a few years ago. "Error? Are you kidding me?" Kaminari exclaimed in disbelief. "I want to try that. It looks like fun," Mina said excitedly. "This is what I'm talking about, using our quirks as much as we want," Shiro added. Izuku thought to himself, realizing he had just pushed Aizawa's buttons. Aizawa's hair covered his face momentarily before he lifted it with a mischievous grin. "So this looks fun, huh? You have 3 years here to become a hero. Do you think it will be games and playtime? Today, you will compete in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last will be expelled immediately." The class looked terrified, their expressions revealing their worries. Aizawa seemed unfazed and clearly enjoyed their anxious reactions. "I get to decide how this class runs. If that's a problem, you can head home right now," he said. "You can't send one of us home. We just got here." Uraraka protested, fear evident in her voice. "Even if it wasn't the first day, that isn't fair." Aizawa responded, "Oh, and you think natural disasters are fair? Quirkless treatment? A power-hungry villain? A catastrophic accident that wipes out a whole city? The world is full of unfairness, and it's a hero's job to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're going to have to push yourself to the brink. For the next 3 years, UA will throw one hardship after another at you, so go beyond, plus ultra. Ida took a sip from his water bottle, his thoughts elsewhere. He reflected on the situation, knowing he didn't approve of this kind of hazing but recognizing that UA was the top hero program, leaving him with no choice. Now then, we're wasting time talking. Let the games begin, Aizawa declared. As the tests commenced, Izuku found them relatively easy, thanks to his physical training under his father and his flying thunder god technique. He excelled in events like the 50-meter dash and long-distance run, while Shikamaru performed at an average level, clearly unmotivated, and Choji did quite well for himself. Aizawa stood before the class, ready to announce the results of their recent evaluations. Alright, time to give you your results. I've ranked you all from best to worst. You should probably have a good idea of your standing already, so I'll just pull up the whole list. With a press of a button, a holographic screen appeared, displaying the rankings. Izuku Namikaze topped the list, followed by Hinata Hyuga in second, Eno Yamanaka in third, Izuku Yagi in fourth, and Choji Akimichi in fifth. Shikamaru Nara was near the bottom, with Minoru Mineta taking the last place. Panicking, Mineta exclaimed, "No! I can't be expelled. I haven't even become popular with the ladies yet." Aizawa's expression remained stern. "Minoru Mineta, pack your bags and leave. You have shown many times that you don't belong at UA. Your behavior is not needed here." Deflated, Mineta walked to the changing room, knowing he had no other choice. The girls sighed in relief, glad that the number one troublemaker would no longer be a nuisance. "That's it for today," Aizawa announced. "Pick up a syllabus in the classroom and read it over before tomorrow morning." As the students began to leave, Izuku walked home with Hinata and Eno, bidding farewell to Shikamaru and Choji as they departed. "Today wasn't hard," Eno remarked. Hinata nodded. "At least Mineta got expelled. I can't imagine what he could have caused if he had stayed." "I have to agree," Izuku added. It was now the second day at UA. Izuku, Hinata, and Eno walked hand in hand toward their classroom, feeling cheerful. Ida, Shikamaru, and Choji were already there. Ida, ever the rule follower, was reprimanding Choji for eating in class. "Akimichi-san, you are disrespecting the school by eating in this classroom," Ida said sternly. Choji looked at him, puzzled. "Good morning, Ida. What do you mean by sacred?" "It's just a normal classroom." Izuku, amused, chimed in, "Good morning, Ida. Please calm down. Choji needs to eat for his quirk." "Good morning, Namike-san. I apologize, Akimichi-san. I didn't realize you needed nutrition for your quirk." "I will take my leave," Ida replied. Hinata and Izuku greeted their friends. "Good morning, Choji and Shikamaru." "Good morning." Choji responded. Shikamaru yawned. "Good morning." Eno asked, "Did you get kicked out again?" "Yeah, what a troublesome mother," Shikamaru replied, sounding resigned. Eno felt a twinge of sympathy for him, knowing he often seemed tired and unmotivated. The group settled into their seats just as Present Mike burst into the room, grinning widely and holding a green book titled English Grammar with Mike. The words, "with Mike," were a sticker he had added for flair. "Are you ready, boys and girls, for your first English class with your cool DJ Present Mike? Now give me a white," he shouted. Silence filled the room, leaving Present Mike sweating slightly. Feeling bad for him, Izuku, Hinata, and Choji decided to cheer him on. "White," they shouted together. The rest of the class looked at them in disbelief, but Present Mike beamed at their enthusiasm. "Finally, someone who understands me. For that, you get 10 points for your next English exam. Consider yourselves lucky, my 3 dear listeners." The class erupted in confusion. "What?" Ignoring their reactions, Present Mike took a chalkboard and wrote 3 sentences on it. "So, which of these 4 sentences contains a mistake?" While the rest of the class groaned internally, Izuku raised his hand. "Sentence 4, Mike-sensei." "Good job. Now keep it going, everybody. Grammar rules." Present Mike encouraged. In the lunchroom, Izuku, Hinata, Eno, Choji, and Shikamaru reserved a table for themselves. They preferred to sit with friends rather than strangers. When Katsumi, Shoka, and Izumi attempted to join them, Eno firmly told them the table was reserved. Shikamaru sighed, "At least I get to eat in silence. You really have some troublesome childhood friends." Izuku laughed. "Yeah, sorry about that." Eno added, "Those three think they can just forget everything they did to you. Not a chance." "Thank you, sweetheart." Izuku replied, smiling. "No problem," Eno said. Shikamaru enjoyed his favorite dish of mackerel cooked with miso, while Hinata savored a cinnamon roll, and Choji indulged in a bit of everything on the menu. Izuku noticed Lunch Rush crying in a corner. Hinata wondered aloud, "I still can't believe you even allowed them in the first place." Izuku explained, "Think about it. All Might and Psychic are top heroes. If they chose to expel their daughters and friends, it would create a scandal. All Might wouldn't want to teach at UA if it meant dealing with angry media and fans." The group shivered at the thought, especially Shikamaru, who was more concerned about the trouble it would cause. "This is really troublesome. I wouldn't want to be annoyed first thing in the morning by angry paparazzi." Eno nodded in agreement as the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. The five friends stood up from their seats and headed toward their classroom. Location: 1A classroom. Izuku sat calmly in the classroom, engaging in small talk with his friends and two girlfriends. He sighed, feeling apprehensive about the next class. Hinata gently patted his back, trying to reassure him as he prepared to face the challenges ahead. Despite his efforts to let go of past grudges, he still felt a lingering resentment. Izumi attempted to spark a conversation about the upcoming class, expressing her excitement, but Izuku ignored her, causing confusion among those unaware of their history. Instead, he distracted himself by chatting with Eno and Hinata about various topics. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of running footsteps in the hallway, followed by the dramatic entrance of All Might and Psychic, who burst through the door, announcing their arrival with flair. "We are here, coming through the door like a hero," they proclaimed. Izuku and Hinata exchanged glances, muttering their disbelief, while Eno called them idiots and Shikamaru sighed, finding the situation troublesome. Meanwhile, the rest of the class reacted with awe, practically worshipping the two heroes. "Wow, I can't believe it's All Might and Psychic," Kaminari exclaimed. "This year is going to be totally awesome," Kirishima added. Azui pointed out Psychic's retro costume, and Ojiro felt goosebumps from the nostalgic look. All Might and Psychic reveled in the admiration, making a dramatic walk toward the podium. "Welcome to the most important class at UA High. Think of it as heroic. Here you will learn the basics of being a pro and what it means to fight for good. Today's lessons will pull no punches," All Might declared, flexing his muscles. Psychic chimed in, "But one of the keys to being a hero is looking good. These were designed for you based on your quirk registration forms and requests you sent before school started." The class erupted in cheers at the thought of wearing their hero costumes in action. "Get yourselves suited up and meet me at Training Ground Beta," All Might commanded. "Yes, Sir," the students shouted in unison. Izuku, Hinata, and Eno quickly gathered their hero costumes and headed toward the changing room, followed closely by Shikamaru and Choji. Location: Ground Beta. Outside, Izuku donned his Chunin flak jacket over his father's coat, which bore the kanji for 4th Hokage. He wore shinobi breathes with a ninja pouch filled with weapons and a headband featuring the leaf symbol. Hinata stood by his side, wearing a lovely violet dress, her hand interlocked with his. Eno, on his other side, sported a violet jacket that showed her midriff, also holding onto his hand. Shikamaru, dressed in Chunin attire, leaned against a wall, lazily twirling a kunai before sitting down and observing everyone's hero suits, making guesses about their quirks. Choji wore red armor adorned with the Akimichi clan symbol, topped with a Chunin flak jacket, munching on a bag of chips. "This is getting me all ramped up. Shall we start, you bunch of newbies?" All Might exclaimed. "Now that you're ready, it's time for combat training," Psychic added. Ida raised his hand, interrupting, "Sir, is this the fake city from our entrance exam? Does that mean we will be conducting urban battles again?" "Not quite," All Might replied. "I'm going to move you 2 steps ahead. Most villain encounters you see on the news take place outside, But statistically, the most dangerous criminals operate indoors. Think about it: backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs. For this training exercise, you'll be split into teams of heroes and villains and engage in indoor battles. So you questioned, isn't that a little advanced? The best training comes from the battlefield, Psychic explained. But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time, you're dealing with actual people. Ida asked, will you be splitting us based on chance or comparative skills? The training exercise is an indoor battle with a hero versus villain scenario. It will be 2v2. The villains must secure a nuclear bomb for 15 minutes without being captured or have the bomb retrieved. They can also win by defeating the heroes. The heroes win by retrieving the bomb or capturing the villains. Do you understand so far? Yes, sir, the class responded. Okay then, we will be picking teams by lot. Psychic announced, holding 2 boxes, one white and one black, while All Might smiled broadly. Ida questioned, but why not pick for ourselves? Shikamaru, still relaxed, replied, you can't expect to team up with whoever you want on the field. I see, I apologize for my rudeness, Ida acknowledged. Not a problem, Ida. Psychic assured him. The teams were announced. Team A consisted of Izuku Namikaze and Izuku Yagi, facing off against Team D, which included Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki. Team B was Choji Akimichi and Shikamaru Nara against Team E, Rikito Sato and Koji Koda. Team C was Eno Yamanaka and Hinata Hyuga versus Team F, Shoka Todoroki and Katsumi Bakugo. Izuku glanced at his former parents, realizing they had rigged the lot to pair him with Izumi in an attempt to mend their broken relationship. He had no intention of giving them that opportunity. In his mind, Kurama spoke, that was rigged. If I weren't sealed here, I would have dealt with them myself. I'm working on a seal to summon you to the outside world. I don't want you trapped like this, Izuku replied mentally. Thanks, Kit. Kurama grinned. Izumi felt a surge of hope as she looked at Izuku, wishing to prove to him that she deserved his forgiveness. However, deep down, she knew that it was a distant dream. Izuku had endured too much pain over the years to easily forget. All Might announced, now Team A will be the heroes while Team D will take on the role of villains. Prepare for the match, I will signal the start. Katsuki and Shoto shot glares at Izuku, who remained unfazed. He had a plan to end the match quickly, having marked both of them beforehand, allowing him to teleport and finish the fight swiftly. Brother, what should we plan? Katsuki and Shoto are strong, Izumi said, concern evident in her voice. Izuku smiled reassuringly. Just stay here, it shouldn't take me a minute. But you're underestimating them. Please, let me help, she insisted. Do whatever you want, he replied with a fake smile. Begin. All Might shouted. In an instant, Izuku teleported to the marks he had placed on Katsuki and Shoto. He swiftly struck them with the blunt side of his kunai, knocking them out cold. The spectators were left in shock and awe, witnessing Izuku break the record for the fastest battle training. Eno smirked, relishing the chance to tease All Might, Psychic, Shoka, and Katsumi about their brother's defeat. Hero team wins. All Might stuttered. Izuku smiled, feeling a mix of satisfaction and restraint. He could have humiliated them further, but he had been raised to avoid revenge, despite his feelings toward them. He teleported back to Izumi, who looked at him in disbelief as he smiled. See? It was over in a second. Now let's go, he said, not waiting for her response as he walked toward the observation room. A crowd of classmates surrounded him, praising his skills and asking how he had done it. Meanwhile, All Might and Psychic felt disappointment. They had hoped for a bonding moment between Izuku and Izumi, believing it would lead to reconciliation within their family. So, who was the MVP of the match? All Might asked. I believe the MVP is definitely Namikaze-san, Momo raised her hand. He defeated both Bakugo and Todoroki, but I think he should have let his teammate help. That is correct, Psychic added. Izuku, you should have allowed Izumi to assist you. I believe you're both mistaken, Izuku replied confidently. Momo raised an eyebrow. Mind explaining? It's simple. Time is of the essence. Aizawa-sensei has reminded us of that many times. By finishing the match quickly, I prevented Bakugo and Todoroki from using their quirks, which could have led to property damage and other issues due to their anger. I was just being strategic. Momo nodded, realizing her mistake. You're right. Excuse me for judging you too quickly. It's no problem. Izuku smiled. He always had a reason for his actions, and they usually turned out well for him. However, he still planned to report All Might and Psychic to Nizu and Aizawa-sensei for their meddling, as he didn't want his past experiences at Aldra to repeat themselves. As he approached his two girlfriends, they greeted him with a kiss, igniting jealousy in Shoka and Katsumi. They could only feel grateful to their uncle and aunt for pitting them against Hinata and Eno, as they sought to vent their frustrations on those who had taken Izuku from them. Now, can Team C and Team F head toward the building? All Might instructed. Eno and Hinata moved to the front, while Shoka and Katsumi entered, Katsumi making a slicing motion across her neck as a threat. In response, Eno simply flipped her off, and Hinata offered a disingenuous smile. Now hero teams can enter. All Might shouted. Eno and Hinata stepped inside, and as expected, Katsumi was the first to be eliminated. Eno smirked, using her mind-body SWH technique to transfer her consciousness into Katsumi, who froze in place. Mind-body SWH technique complete. Eno declared from within Katsumi. At that moment, Shoka entered, seeing Katsumi, Eno, glaring at the knocked-out Eno and Hinata. Shoka smirked, standing in front of Katsumi. "Let me take that skank who took my Zuzu away from me," she taunted. "Are you sure about that?" "Skank." Katsumi, Eno, shot back. Katsumi, Eno, then unleashed an explosion that caught Shoka off guard, sending her flying toward Hinata, who was ready with her gentle fist technique. "You are in my territory of divination, 8 trigrams 32 palms, Hinata stated confidently. Hinata proceeded to strike Shoka with precision, closing off her chakra points. Shoka screamed in pain as Hinata landed a palm strike to her stomach, sending her crashing into a wall. Shoka struggled to her feet, her legs wobbling, but she found she couldn't activate her quirk. "What did you do?" Shoka gasped, desperation creeping into her voice. "I locked all your chakra points. You won't be able to use your quirk for a while," Hinata replied coolly. "But hey, since you can't use your quirk, that means you're quirkless right now," Eno added with a grin. "Remember what you did to Izuku when he didn't have a quirk?" Shoka fell to the ground, tears streaming down her face as Eno and Hinata approached her. Hinata's Byakugan glowed intensely, and Shoka felt as though her very soul was being scrutinized. "Remember when you and your friends bullied him, even going so far as to push him toward despair?" Hinata asked, her voice steady. Eno continued, "Did you ever think about what could have happened if he had taken your advice and really jumped from the roof?" Shoka, now sobbing, cried out, "I'm sorry. I just wanted to protect him. I didn't want him to die for wanting to become a hero without a quirk." Hinata confronted the group, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "So the best solution you all could come up with was to bully him, to spread rumors that he was quirkless? You think that's love? There's more to being a hero than just fighting villains. There are rescue heroes, and heroes like Nizu who strategize. After all, Izuku was acknowledged by Nizu as a prodigy who could rival him." All Might interrupted, his voice booming. "That's enough. Hero team wins." Both All Might and Psychic were visibly upset, having inadvertently let the students overhear everything. The atmosphere was tense as everyone glared at Katsuki, Shoto, and Izumi, their anger palpable. Momo chimed in, "Now I understand why he didn't take you with him and chose to battle alone." Ida, looking serious, asked, "Sir, why are they not expelled?" Izuku replied, "Their parents are heroes, so they got away with it. But Principal Nizu made it clear that they're on thin ice. One more mistake could lead to expulsion." "I really don't like this," Ida admitted, "but if Principal Nizu allowed them to stay, I trust his judgment." The class buzzed with comments about the situation. Some felt that Katsuki and Shoto deserved a chance to redeem themselves since their actions hadn't been too extreme, just shouting when things didn't go their way. Eno and Hinata returned, and Izuku hugged them, grateful for their support, which made them smile. The next matches proceeded as expected. Choji and Shikamaru easily defeated the villain team, with Choji using his body expansion jutsu to overpower Sato. Koda, shy as ever, didn't contribute much, so Shikamaru thanked him for making it easier by not complicating things. After class, Izuku reported everything to Aizawa and Principal Nizu, who were not pleased. They informed Izuku that they would be giving an ultimatum to both All Might and Psychic regarding their behavior, expressing their lack of trust in them to act responsibly. Aizawa volunteered to oversee every hero class from then on. The day before, Izuku had swiftly defeated both Katsuki and Shoto in their training match by teleporting behind them and knocking them out with the blunt end of a kunai. Later, Hinata and Eno were assigned to take down Katsuki and Shoto, and All Might ended the match as both girls incapacitated their opponents quickly. This revelation led to Katsuki and Shoto, along with Izumi, becoming outcasts due to their unlikable personalities. As Izuku walked casually toward the front of the school with Eno and Hinata, he spotted a group of reporters outside the gates. A female reporter approached him, microphone in hand, eager for answers. "Hey, what's it like being close to All Might and Psychic?" she asked. Izuku politely responded, "Sorry, I can't discuss that. It's a school matter, and you should speak with the principal if you want an interview with All Might." He walked past her, followed closely by Hinata and Eno. The reporter suddenly recognized him. "Wait, you're the yellow flash kid from the sludge incident." The reporter's eyes lit up, excited to meet the boy who had made headlines for his heroic actions. Izuku felt a bit overwhelmed but managed to smile as he continued into the school, the reporters calling after him. "Sorry, I have classes, and my homeroom teacher wouldn't be pleased if I'm late," he said politely. As he walked further in, he noticed Aizawa smirking at the scene. Aizawa sighed, knowing that Izuku would likely bring him more trouble in the future, and decided to nickname him Problem Child. "Good job handling that situation, Problem Child," Aizawa remarked. Eno raised an eyebrow. "Problem Child? Yeah, I have a feeling he's going to be a trouble magnet for the next 3 years," Aizawa replied. Izuku chuckled sheepishly. "Sorry about that. Now, let's head to our homeroom." Aizawa nodded and left them to their own devices as they walked through the hallways. Upon reaching their classroom, they found their classmates chatting, except for Choji, who was munching on chips, and Shikamaru, who had chosen to sleep. Shortly after, a weary Aizawa entered the classroom, prompting the students to quiet down quickly. He addressed them in his usual monotone voice, discussing the previous day's hero versus villain exercise. "I want to express my disappointment in certain individuals for their performance yesterday," he began, his gaze landing on All Might, Katsuki, and Shoto. "This is a hero school, not a place for personal vendettas." He continued, "Let's get down to business. Our first task will determine your future. You all need to pick a class representative." The announcement sparked excitement among the students, and hands shot up as everyone expressed their longing for the role. "Pick me, guys. I want to be class representative," Kirishima shouted. "I'll take it," Kaminari added. "Yeah," Jiro chimed in. "You are going to need me," Aoyama declared, someone with style. Mina threw her hands up in excitement. Totally the right pick. The class was in chaos as everyone shouted to be chosen for the position. However, Izuku, Eno, Hinata, Choji, and Shikamaru remained quiet, uninterested in the childish banter. Of course, Ida had to step in, eager to assert his authority. "Silence, everyone please. The class representative's duties are to lead others. Not just anyone can do this. You must first have the trust of every student in the classroom. Therefore, the most logical way to fill this position is through democracy. We will hold an election to choose our leader." Ida raised his hand higher, shaking with desperation to be chosen. Everyone thought, "It's pretty obvious you want us to go through you. Is this really the best idea?" Kaminari asked. Tsu chimed in, "We've only known each other a few days. How do we know who we can trust?" Kirishima added, "Besides, everyone will just vote for themselves." "Most people will," Ida replied, but that means whoever receives multiple votes must truly be the most suitable person for the job. It's the best way, right, sir? Aizawa, barely awake, muttered. Do what you want as long as you don't wake me up. You have until the end of the class to decide, so make it quick. Election results. Izuku Namikaze, 12 votes. Hinata Hyuga, 8 votes. Shikamaru Nara, 1 vote. Momo Yaoyorozu, 4 votes. Tenya Ida, 0 votes. Hinata looked surprised. Wait, I am the vice president? Why? Momo smiled. You are really smart, kind and caring, so why not? Izuku nodded in agreement. You have the makings of a leader, Hinata, just like Eno, Shikamaru and Choji. Eno snorted. Yeah, right. Shikamaru only thinks about clouds, and Choji only thinks about his stomach. If anything, the job isn't suited to them. Choji shrugged. Well, Eno is right. I don't feel like a leader yet. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome blonde. Everyone exchanged glances, wondering how Shikamaru managed to stay at UA, aside from Aizawa's sympathy for fellow lazy individuals. Ida, 0 votes, he lamented. I feared this might happen, but I can't argue with the system I chose. Sato questioned. While you do your best to vote for yourself, what were you trying to prove here, Ida? Aizawa finally woke up. Now can the class president and vice president come to the front of the class? Izuku stood up alongside Hinata, walking toward the board. As they faced the class, some students looked pleased to have 2 capable leaders. Even Aizawa felt satisfied with the outcome. He would have changed the votes if it had turned out to be someone like Ida or the self-proclaimed Big Five, as none of them possessed the qualities of a leader like Izuku and Hinata. All right, the class representative is Namikes, and his deputy is Hyuga. Aizawa announced. Izuku and Hinata left the podium after offering a thank you and returned to their seats. This might not be so bad. Tsu remarked. Yeah, Kirishima agreed. Namikes and Hyuga are logical. After all, they are strong and smart. Location: cafeteria. Izuku sat in the cafeteria with Hinata, Eno, Shikamaru, and Choji. They chatted together, with Shikamaru taking up an entire bench as he stared lazily at the ceiling while Choji devoured everything in sight, prompting Lunch Rush to rush around in a frenzy to serve the hungry Akimichi. It's not as good as cloud gazing, but it will do, Shikamaru said. Eno nudged him. When are you going to stop being lazy and get motivated for once in your life? Shikamaru replied, I can be serious at times, but it really makes me tired. I'd rather become an average hero than marry an average woman and retire early. Izuku smirked. We all know, Shikamaru, that the Nara clan is cursed. Cursed? How so? Hinata asked, intrigued. Well, Izuku continued, whoever he marries will likely be just as demanding as his mother, and he knows that is true. His dream of an ordinary life will be far from it with a Nara woman. Shikamaru grunted. I would deny that, but everything you say is true. Their conversation was interrupted by the school alarm blaring throughout the building. Warning, Level 3 security breach. All students, please evacuate the building in an orderly fashion. Hallway. Izuku remained unfazed, as did Shikamaru and the girls, though Hinata and Choji panicked slightly. They quickly calmed down, sensing the intruder was merely the paparazzi seeking an interview with All Might, which frustrated them. I really hope they took my advice and asked for a reservation to interview All Might and Psychic, Izuku said. Now they probably lost that chance after this stunt. I agree. Shikamaru added. Shouldn't we do something? Hinata suggested. Eno rolled her eyes. Why bother? It's pathetic that our upperclassmen are acting like a bunch of wussies. I thought this was the best school in the country. Well, I guess it can't be helped, Izuku said. I will go do something, as any injuries will just overwork Recovery Girl, who already has her hands full. They watched as students rushed past each other, seemingly oblivious to anyone but themselves. Stop shoving so hard, one student exclaimed. What are you doing? You're going to get us trampled, a female student shouted. I said stop pushing me, came another voice. Izuku observed the chaos, feeling a sense of responsibility for the situation. This is really getting out of hand. I feel bad for Recovery Girl. Hey, Shikamaru, I know this is troublesome for you, but could you use your paralysis jutsu to freeze them in place? Troublesome, Namikes, Shikamaru replied, standing up. He activated his clan technique, spreading his shadow to immobilize the students. Izuku then threw a three-pronged kunai at the flashing exit sign, glancing at the panicked crowd. Guys, you all need to calm down. This is just the media outside waiting for an interview with All Might. I need to remind you that such disgraceful behavior could reflect poorly on a prestigious school like UA. As the students looked out the window and saw the media, shame washed over them. If I'm being honest, I never expected the second and third years to act like this. I thought they would be the first to check for the intruder and guide the first and second years on how to behave, especially since you have your hero licenses and field experience. Now look around and see what your actions have caused. The students surveyed the scene, noticing many injured classmates with swollen eyes, broken ribs, and some knocked out on the floor. Now that this is over, I want you to take the injured to Recovery Girl. After that, head to your classes in absolute order. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir, they responded in unison. Good, Izuku said, leaving the area with Shikamaru, who yawned, while Eno and Hinata shook their heads in amusement. Choji remained in the cafeteria, enjoying his meal. Ida, he really is a natural-born leader, one student remarked. Agreed, another added. Aizawa sighed, clearly annoyed at having to deal with the reporters outside. Damn it. All you have to do is give us All Might, Psychic, and the Yellow Flash Kid. They are here somewhere, a female reporter demanded. Just give us one good comment on record, and we'll leave, a male reporter added. I know how you people work. You get one, and you demand another. Now leave, Aizawa replied. They are trespassing. We can use our quirks to kick them out, Present Mike suggested. If you don't want your name dragged through the mud, I suggest you wait for the police, Aizawa warned. Fortunately, the police arrived and scooted the reporters off the school grounds, prompting Present Mike to cheer at their departure. In Class 1A, Aizawa addressed the students. Today's training will be a little different. You will have 3 instructors. Me, All Might, Psychic, and another faculty member will be keeping tabs on you. What kind of training is this? Zero asked. Aizawa held up a paper that read, Rescue, and the students stared in awe, excited about the prospect of rescue training. Rescue. You will be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks, and similar scenarios, Aizawa explained. Disasters, huh? Sounds like we are in for a big workout. Kaminari exclaimed. Totally. Mina agreed. Real hero stuff. This is what separates the men from the boys. I am shaking with excitement, Kirishima added. Finally, I get to show how good I am in water, Tsuyu said with a smile. Guys, I'm not finished yet. What you wear for this exercise is up to you. I know you're excited about costumes, but keep in mind that you haven't gotten used to any of them and they might limit your abilities. This special training will take place at an off-campus facility, so we will be taking a bus to get there. That's all. Start getting ready. Everyone stood up, grabbed their hero costumes, and headed to the changing room. Outside UA, Izuku and his group donned their hero costumes, or rather their shinobi clothes, sitting away from the other students. As it was time to move, Izuku stepped forward. Now then, everyone get inside the bus and sit wherever you want, as long as it's in order. Ida raised his hand. Shouldn't it be by seat number? Ida, time is of the essence. Seat numbers are not needed unless we are in the classroom, Izuku replied. I understand, after all, you are the class president, Ida acknowledged. They boarded the bus and took their seats. Aizawa felt pleased, especially seeing Ida's adherence to rules. Ida soon discovered that the bus had different seating arrangements than he imagined, sulking in a corner. As the bus started moving toward the USJ for their training, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. The bus carrying Class 1A and their homeroom teacher Aizawa was anything but quiet. It was the 3rd day of their first year at the prestigious UA, and students chatted in groups or talked randomly. Izuku sat in the middle, flanked by Eno and Hinata, both girls mentally preparing for their training. Though Izuku appeared relaxed, his tense muscles and sharp body language indicated he was on guard, a detail Aizawa noticed. Aizawa thought to himself, "At least I have someone who is not goofing off. One day they will learn how cruel this world is. I just hope they don't experience it early in their childhood like you, old friend." His thoughts drifted to a tall boy with light blue, wavy hair, whose excitement was evident in his large grin and bright eyes. Aizawa's expression softened briefly before returning to his usual tired demeanor. The chatter among the students quieted when Tsuyu Azui, a short girl with a slender build and notably large hands, spoke up. Her appearance was quite unique, resembling that of a frog. She had a wide mouth that dipped slightly in the middle, and her oval-shaped eyes featured large, black irises with pronounced lower eyelashes. Her mannerisms also reflected her frog-like nature, as she often hopped on all fours instead of running. Her hair was a dark sea green, long enough to reach her waist, with the ends tied together in a large bow. Two shoulder-length clumps framed her face, and shorter bangs rested between her eyes, some swept to the sides. She wore a bright green turtleneck bodysuit, complemented by tan gloves with large buckles on each wrist. Two matching belts adorned her figure, one above her chest and another around her waist, both decorated with little green dots. Black lines ran down her suit, framed with yellow, and she wore tight black boots marked with a V shape on her thighs, along with green webbed flippers resembling frog toes. A headband matched her gloves, and goggles with dark green-tinted lenses rested on either side of her head. "Can I ask you a question?" Tsuyu inquired, looking at Izuku with curiosity. Izuku smiled and nodded, encouraging her to continue. "What's your quirk? I've seen you teleport and create those blue spheres during the sludge incident." Izuku replied, "This isn't a quirk, it's another form of energy called chakra, used long ago during the era of shinobi. I manipulate my energy to control various elements like fire, wind, lightning, water, earth, and more." Momo, surprised, chimed in, "I read about that, but I thought it was just a myth." Izuku shook his head. "It's not a myth." Kirishima asked, "Can anyone use it?" Izuku explained, "No, not everyone can use it since quirks have taken over." Kaminari added, "So only those without a quirk can use it?" Jiro teased, "I never thought you could use that brain for anything other than frying it." Kaminari protested, "Hey, you make it sound like I'm a complete idiot." Jiro retorted, "That's because you are a complete idiot." Izuku interjected, "She doesn't mean you're completely stupid. She means the way you use your quirk is a bit reckless." Kaminari asked, "How so?" "You discharge all your electricity at once, which fries your brain. If you use your quirk smartly, releasing small amounts of voltage and increasing it only when your opponent can handle it, you could last longer in battle." Kaminari pondered Izuku's advice, realizing how he had been using his quirk all wrong. Kirishima exclaimed, "That's so manly. I'm jealous. My quirk isn't as flashy as yours and the others." Izuku raised an eyebrow. "Why are you trying to be me, Kirishima?" Kirishima looked confused. "Being you?" Izuku clarified, "I mean, why not just be yourself? Being flashy isn't always the best. You could be like Aoyama, who has a flashy quirk that only harms him." "No offense, Aoyama." Aoyama replied, "None taken, Monsieur Namikes." Izuku continued, "It's sad you don't realize how powerful your quirk is, Kirishima. You could tank bullets, maybe even cannonballs with the right training. You're both an offense and defense fighter. As long as you do your job, defeating your opponent or saving civilians, you don't need to be flashy." Kirishima, with manly tears in his eyes, said, "Thank you, Namikes. I will do my best." Izuku smiled. "Glad I could help." Aizawa glanced at Izuku, a small smile on his face, appreciating how Izuku was helping his classmates gain confidence and suggesting smart ways to use their quirks. He then turned serious as they arrived at their destination. "Hey, we're here. Stop messing around," Aizawa instructed. "Yes, sir," everyone replied. As they exited the bus, they were greeted by the Pro Hero 13. Uraraka and Izumi were excitedly fangirling at the sight of the space hero. "Hello, everyone. I've been waiting for you and can't wait to show you inside, 13 said. This is going to be so awesome, the group exclaimed, except for Izuku and his friends. Upon entering the USJ, everyone was in awe of the disaster scenarios designed to train them for various situations. Wow, it looks like an amusement park, Kirishima exclaimed. 13 explained, a shipwreck, a landslide, a fire, a windstorm, etc. I created this training facility to prepare you for different types of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ for short. Everyone thought, just like Universal Studios Japan. 13 continued, before we begin, I want to say a few important things. I have a powerful quirk called Black Hole, which can SCK up anything and turn it into dust. However, my quirk can also be dangerous. All quirks are certified and regulated, but we often overlook how unsafe they can be. If you lose focus or make the wrong move, your powers can be deadly, even if you're trying to help someone. Thanks to Aizawa's fitness test, you have a solid understanding of your quirk's potential. Today, you will learn to use your quirks to save lives. You won't be using your powers to attack enemies or each other. That's what being a hero is all about, ensuring the safety of others. Thank you for listening. Everyone applauded 13's inspiring speech, but their excitement was interrupted when the lights around the dome began flickering. Aizawa and Izuku exchanged glances, sensing the tension as a purple warp gate opened before them, signaling the arrival of real villains. The first figure to emerge from the portal was a slim man with pale skin. He had messy grayish-blue hair of varying lengths, with the longest clumps reaching about his shoulders, left hanging over his face in uneven waves. His eyes and mouth were usually obscured, but his bright red irises were striking, albeit small. He had 14 hands, all positioned in a way that they seemed to be holding onto different parts of his body. At the same time, many villains emerged from the portal, their eyes filled with malice. The heroes in training were unaware of the intruders, their naivety leading them to believe they were safe inside UA, convinced that no villain would dare trespass on their territory. One thing was certain, this day would have a significant impact on the heroes in training, whether it turned out to be good or bad. Chapter End. The last time the villains had managed to breach the USJ, most of the students were unaware of the threat. However, a few exceptional students understood the gravity of the situation and what could ensue. Kirishima, excited by the sight of the army of villains, stepped forward, blissfully unaware of the danger he was walking into. A hand stopped him. Izuku, shaking his head sharply, his gaze intense in a way Kirishima had never seen before. This was what people would call battle mode. Aizawa adjusted his goggles and capture gear, keeping his eyes on the army of villains as he addressed his students. Stay back. Those are real villains. Izuku, eyes fixed on the villains dispersing throughout the facility, asked, Sensei, is it possible for me to help in this battle? Aizawa hesitated, preferring Izuku to stay back, but he knew he couldn't face the villains alone. I'd rather you stay here, but I'm not arrogant enough to fight them alone. I, Eraserhead, grant you permission to engage in battle, just don't make me regret this. Good, Izuku replied, already formulating a plan. The villains are spreading out, and judging by how they breached the USJ, they're likely trying to divide us as well. Aizawa nodded. A divide and conquer strategy. All I have to do is erase their quirks. Villain sighed. Shigaraki scratched his neck in frustration. Damn it, they said all might would be here. Kurojairi suggested, should we separate the students? Yes, separate them. If the symbol of peace isn't coming, we'll drag him here by spilling their blood, especially that blonde kid. His glare is annoying me. Yes, young MSTR Shigaraki. The lower-level villains have already dispersed around the facility, awaiting their prey. As Kurojairi teleported away, Shigaraki smirked, anticipating the despair he would witness when the symbol of peace saw his beloved students defeated. In a game of RPGs, when fighting an army with unknown skills, you don't confront them head-on. That would be suicidal. We divide and conquer. He glanced at his engineered Nomu, a menacing creature with an exposed brain, devoid of emotion. Even if they manage to defeat those low-level villains, I still have you, Nomu. After all, you can't defeat a final boss without a trump card. Hero side. Knowing time was of the essence, Izuku decided to make a dent in the villain's numbers. He pulled 2 scrolls from his pouch and threw them to Hinata and Eno, who understood his plan. They stood forward, opened the scrolls, and unleashed a flurry of kunai that rained down on the villains. In mere seconds, half of the villains were incapacitated, and 1 person stood amidst the unconscious bodies, unimpressed. Shigaraki's eyes widened in disbelief as he screamed in rage. What the hell is this? How can he defeat them all so quickly? I call cheats. Ban him. Izuku retorted, cheats? You came here and attacked our school, and you think this is just some video game. Suddenly, Aizawa appeared next to Izuku, looking annoyed. He realized that half of the students were separated around the USJ facility, but with Izuku's quick actions, he felt confident they could handle the remaining villains. Good job. This will make our job easier, Aizawa said. What's the situation? Izuku asked. Half of the students are separated, but luckily, we managed to have Ida alert the staff about the attack. Kurojairi appeared next to Shigaraki, informing him of the students' separation and those who had managed to escape, which only fueled Shigaraki's anger. Kurojairi, if you weren't our only way out, I would have dealt with you myself. Sorry, young Esther, but what should we do about the child? I remember him from the news. He's been given the alias, the Yellow Flash. Shigaraki, seeing an opportunity to eliminate Izuku, commanded, Nomu, attack the blonde one. Izuku was taken by surprise as a hulking beast rushed toward him with incredible speed. He was sent flying into the staircase, gasping for breath. Aizawa quickly snapped out of his shock and released his capture weapon, attempting to restrain the Nomu. However, Shigaraki laughed. You think you can restrain my bioengineered Nomu by tying its arms? Try again. The Nomu yanked the capture weapon, grabbing Aizawa's face and smashing it to the ground, shaking the plaza. Flood zone. In the flood zone, Eno fell through the air, screaming slightly before landing in the water. Realizing her predicament, she began to swim upward, only to be met with a shark-like villain approaching her at high speed. A hottie. Don't worry, I'll make your death painless. Nothing personal, the villain sneered. However, before he could reach her, a swift kick sent him deep into the water. Tsu, having intercepted the villain, wrapped her tongue around Eno's waist, pulling her to safety as they jumped onto a nearby boat. Eno coughed, Thank you, Tsu. I didn't see that coming. Tsu reassured her friends, It's fine. Meanwhile, Izumi was in turmoil, reflecting on the words of the villain from the mist before they had been separated. Kurojairi had mentioned that he expected All Might to teach the class effectively, but he had been ordered to divide them. Izumi felt a surge of fear at the thought of losing her father. In her thoughts, Izumi panicked, They're here to hurt Dad. No, they can't do that. He's the #1 hero. But they said they have a way to defeat him. Suddenly, Eno slapped Izumi on the cheek, leaving a red mark. Izumi looked at her, a mix of anger and surprise on her face. Eno scolded her, Really? You're having a breakdown at a time like this? You call yourself an elite hero in training and a future #1 hero. Izumi shot back, They said they want to kill my father. Eno replied, So what? I might not like All Might, but I know he's strong enough to handle himself. Besides, you make it sound like he'll be fighting alone. I'm sure Izuku has everything under control. Tsu chimed in, I agree with Eno. Namikes took out half of their forces by himself. Eno continued, and those villains don't know our quirks. If they did, they would have put Tsuyu in the conflagration zone. Izumi's eyes widened as she realized they had the advantage. The villains were unaware of their abilities, and the water-type villains were staying in the water instead of coming onto the boat, hoping to eliminate them there. What should we do? Izumi asked. Eno declared, I have a plan. The 3 girls regrouped as Eno whispered her strategy to Izumi and Tsu. Despite her feelings toward Eno, Izumi had to admit the plan was clever. Meanwhile, the villains were growing impatient. One of them created a water claw that sliced the boat in half, causing it to start sinking. You fool! What are you doing? One villain shouted. I'm just tired of waiting. another replied. Realizing it was time to put her plan into action, Eno formed a special seal and zoomed toward the second villain, who suddenly froze in place. Shinranshin no jutsu. Eno called out. The second villain shouted, "What did you do to my body?" Under Eno's control, he began attacking his comrades, who were caught off guard and sent flying. Izumi took her cue and used her telekinesis to pull the villains together, making it easier to take them down. It was mentally taxing, but worth it when the controlled villain unleashed a powerful water attack, injuring his allies. Eno then commanded him to knock himself out, which he did. "Great planning, Yamanaka-chan." Tsuyu praised. Eno smiled. "Thanks. Izu always told me to learn strategy. It would be useful in battle." Tsuyu added, "He taught you well. Now let's get to shore." Tsuyu wrapped her arms around Eno and Izumi's waists and jumped high toward the shore, where they could see the battle between Aizawa and the Nomu unfolding. "Where's Izu?" Eno asked. "Over there." Tsuyu pointed to the staircase where a slightly injured Izuku was watching the fight, which was clearly one-sided. "What is Big Brother doing?" Izumi wondered. Eno replied, "He's trying to figure out the Nomu's patterns so he can plan around them. And you have no right to call him Big Brother." Mountain Zone. In the Mountain Zone, Hinata Hyuga, Momo Yaoyorozu, Kyoka Jiro, and Denki Kaminari found themselves surrounded by small-time villains who were eyeing them in a way that made Momo shiver. Jiro was disgusted, while Hinata shared her feelings of revulsion. Kaminari, on the other hand, felt intimidated. "We're surrounded," Kaminari exclaimed. One villain lunged at them, but Jiro kicked Kaminari toward him, and he defeated the villain with a burst of electricity. "Don't be a coward, Kaminari. Fight instead of sulking," Jiro urged. Hinata added, "Remember what Izu told you." Recalling Izuku's advice, Kaminari felt his resolve strengthen. He charged forward, releasing small bursts of electricity while Hinata engaged the villains with her clan's taijutsu, striking them down with precision. As the fight progressed, it became clear that the students were outsmarting the villains, who were using their quirks recklessly. "Wow, we made quick work of them," Kaminari said, relieved. "Yeah, I have to admit you did better. I guess Namike's advice helped you," Jiro acknowledged. Momo remarked, "Hinata, I never knew you were so skilled in hand-to-hand combat." Hinata explained, "That's my clan's taijutsu, it's a tradition." Just as they let their guard down, they heard muffled screams. They turned to see Kaminari being held hostage by a villain with a skull mask, who smirked as he threatened him with electricity. "Let him go!" Jiro shouted angrily. "Do you think this is a game? We're villains. Playing dirty is normal. Now give up, or I won't hesitate to hurt a fellow lightning brother," the villain taunted. The three girls raised their hands in surrender, understanding the situation. Jiro cursed Kaminari for being careless, but she also realized she had let her guard down. She tried to discreetly reach for her earlobes to activate her quirk, but the villain noticed. "I'm not some nobody like those other idiots." "I see what you're doing," he sneered. Suddenly, he found himself frozen, unable to move, as a voice came from behind him. Title: A Clash of Heroes. The air crackled with tension as Shikamaru completed the shadow possession jutsu. "Hinata, you're safe," he called out, spotting her amidst the chaos. "Shikamaru-san, you made it." Hinata replied, relief washing over her. "I wasn't planning to intervene," Shikamaru admitted, "but seeing you in a tight spot was too troublesome to ignore. Choji, it's your turn." With that, Choji rolled into action, using the multi-size technique. He transformed into a massive ball and barreled toward the villain, crashing down with a force that sent shockwaves through the area. He narrowly avoided Kaminari, who had just managed to dodge the impact. Kaminari exhaled sharply, "You almost squashed me too." Shikamaru sighed, "Stop being troublesome. Choji's got this. Now let's move on." Central Plaza. Izuku found himself unexpectedly thrown against the staircase. Though it stung, he quickly regained his footing, his training having prepared him for worse. He turned to see Aizawa locked in combat with the Nomu, a creature designed to challenge all might. Izuku knew he had to be strategic. The Nomu was a mindless beast, following commands without question. As he observed the fight, Izuku noted the one-sided nature of the battle. He held back from jumping in, recognizing Aizawa's expertise as a pro-hero. Instead, he focused on the Nomu's behavior. He realized that the creature executed orders to the letter. When commanded to attack, it did so without hesitation. However, if given a different command, it would follow that instead. This insight could be crucial. Izuku also recognized the Nomu's fighting style. It relied on brute strength and had a predictable pattern. Outmaneuvering it would be key. He noted its impressive abilities: super regeneration, enhanced strength, speed, and shock absorption, all revealed by the leader of the group in a careless moment. Most importantly, Izuku discerned that despite its mindlessness, the Nomu had a brain that received commands. Without it, the creature would cease to function. With this information, Izuku began to devise a plan to defeat the Nomu without endangering Aizawa. The opportunity arose when the Nomu moved closer to Aizawa, preparing to lift him. Seizing the moment, Izuku activated his Flying Thunder God technique, teleporting to Aizawa's side. He quickly affixed multiple explosive tags to the creature's brain before teleporting them both away. A massive explosion rocked the area, and when the smoke cleared, the Nomu was down, its brain destroyed. Shigaraki, witnessing the defeat, was filled with rage. How? That wasn't supposed to happen. The Nomu was created to fight All Might, not to be taken down by a kid, he shouted. I suggest you surrender, Shigaraki Tamura, Izuku replied firmly. Your weapon is no longer usable. Let's go, Kurogyari. It's game over. Shigaraki commanded, and before Izuku could react, they vanished in a swirl of smoke. Izuku groaned in frustration. It's okay, Izuku. You did your best, Aizawa reassured him. But they infiltrated UA not once, but twice. And those villains were just cannon fodder, Izuku lamented. Our main priority is the students, Aizawa reminded him. But how can you help them when you're injured? Izuku questioned. Not if I can help it, came a voice. Eno knelt beside Aizawa, her hands glowing green as she utilized medical ninjutsu. Though not as powerful as Recovery Girl, it was enough to stabilize Aizawa's injuries. Izuku glanced up the staircase to see Hinata tending to 13's wounds when suddenly, the door burst open, revealing a serious All Might. Fear not, I am here, he declared. Everyone responded in unison, You're late. All Might was taken aback by their reaction. He surveyed the scene, noting the defeated villains and the massive creature on the ground. Aizawa, limping and glaring at All Might, was clearly displeased. Aizawa, where were you when you were needed in class? Because of your absence, the students were endangered. If it weren't for Izuku, we might have been overwhelmed by that Nomu and the army of villains, Aizawa growled. All Might lowered his head, feeling the weight of Aizawa's words. He attempted to maintain his iconic smile, but it faltered under the intensity of Aizawa's glare. Now, Aizawa, calm down. The students are safe, and that's what matters, a voice interjected. Aizawa turned to see Nizu and other staff members entering. But this could have been avoided if he had done his job from the start, Aizawa insisted. We'll discuss that later, Nizu replied. For now, staff, please scatter and assist any students in need. We must also apprehend any remaining villains. The staff nodded as ectoplasm cloned himself to spread throughout the USJ facility while the other staff members headed to various parts of the USJ to assist the injured students back to the entrance. Outside UI. After half an hour, the students stood outside, being questioned by Detective Neo Mesa about their involvement in the USJ incident. Among them was Izuku, who had played a crucial role in defeating the villains. Detective Neo Mesa addressed Izuku. Under normal circumstances, you would receive a warning for fighting without a license. However, since you had permission from Eraserhead, you're free to go. Good job on defeating those villains. Izuku replied, Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Detective. Detective Neo Mesa nodded appreciatively at Izuku's politeness before they parted ways. Izuku then stood in front of a bandaged Aizawa, who was seated in a wheelchair, ready to be transported to the school nurse's office. Aizawa instructed, Everyone get back on the bus. We're returning to the classroom to ensure there are no lingering traumatic effects from the attack. The students nodded in understanding and boarded the bus to return to the main building of UA. No one POV. Location: staff meeting room. It was nighttime, and the students had already left UA grounds to be comforted by their parents after experiencing their first real villain attack. Meanwhile, UA staff gathered in the meeting room to discuss the day's events and how to move forward. The staff sat around a large U-shaped table, with Aizawa present despite his bandages, which were not serious enough to hinder his duties. Detective Naomasa Tsukachi stood before them, dressed in his signature tan overcoat and matching hat, holding a report detailing the villain attack. I can report that we have thoroughly searched the school and reviewed the footage. No students attempted to breach any staff rooms. With the appearance of the villain Kurogiri, it seems he used his teleportation ability to infiltrate the school and access the USJ schedule, Detective Tsukachi explained. A collective sigh of relief swept through the staff, grateful there were no traitors among them or the students. Nizu remarked, "At least we can be assured of that." He glanced at Present Mike, who had been the first to express concern about a potential traitor. With Tsukachi's findings, the tension eased, but Nizu remained vigilant. A man stood up, revealing himself to be Snipe, a UA staff member and hero. Dressed in a cowboy-inspired outfit, he voiced his concern. How did this happen? A villain shouldn't have been able to infiltrate the school so easily. We may have been lax on security, but we were cautious. Aizawa, who had been silent until now, turned to Snipe with an annoyed expression before glaring at All Might. "Why do you think this happened?" Aizawa said sarcastically. "After all, we hired All Might, the #1 hero and symbol of peace, who, I might add, has no teaching certificate and is completely irresponsible as both a parent and a teacher." The sarcasm was evident, and it was clear Aizawa was not a fan of All Might. The latter flinched at the jab regarding his parenting skills and lowered his head in shame. Aizawa continued, "If it weren't for Izuku's use of the Flying Thunder God technique at the beginning to immobilize the battalion of villains, we would have been overwhelmed by their numbers." The rest of the staff, who had not witnessed the fight, were taken aback. They hadn't realized a student could eliminate a battalion of villains so effectively. Aizawa was about to continue his critique of All Might when Nizu interjected. "That's enough, Aizawa. You've said enough." Nizu said firmly. Aizawa grumbled but fell silent, though his glare at All Might remained. Nizu then turned to All Might, ready to add his own thoughts. Nizu addressed Toshinori with a serious tone, reminding him of his responsibilities as a teacher at UA. "Toshinori, your primary role is to educate the next generation of heroes. You know that with your position here, our school will attract villains looking to make a name for themselves. Today's incident is proof of that. Instead of spending 3 hours dealing with a petty villain attack that other heroes could handle, why not focus on becoming a proper teacher?" Toshinori felt a wave of embarrassment wash over him as he faced the critique from his boss in front of his colleagues and his friend, Tsukachi. He lowered his head, feeling ashamed. Tsukachi, observing the exchange, shook his head in disappointment. Vlad King turned to Tsukachi, seeking information about the leader of the villain group. "Detective, do you have any updates on who is leading this group?" The staff members listened intently, eager to learn more about the individual behind the infiltration of UA, a feat that was no small task given the school's security measures. Tsukachi nodded. "From our interrogations with the students, we discovered that the leader is a man named Shigaraki Tamura. We checked our database but found no records under that name, suggesting it might be a codename. We then analyzed the quirk associated with him, which appears to be some form of decay. However, we couldn't find anyone with a similar quirk that matched the descriptions we received." A week had passed since the incident at the USJ, and the media frenzy showed no signs of slowing down. News outlets across the country were buzzing with discussions about the breach at the prestigious high school. Some questioned UA's ability to protect its students, who were destined to become the next generation of heroes, while others focused on the emerging villain organization that had orchestrated such a bold attack. Fortunately, thanks to the combined efforts of Izuku Namikaze, the homeroom teacher of Class 1A, and other students, no one was injured during the attack. However, the staff took credit for the student's safety to shield Izuku from media scrutiny and to avoid raising questions about a student fighting alongside a teacher. Izuku woke up the day after the incident feeling refreshed. Despite his injuries from battling the bioengineered Nomu, he was recovering well, thanks to Kurama's healing abilities, Recovery Girl, and some help from Eno. He was ready to return to school, aware that while he felt fine, many of his classmates might not share the same sentiment. He suspected some might reconsider their aspirations of becoming heroes. As he adjusted his red tie, Izuku prepared to leave his home. He took a moment to sit down and put on his shoes before stepping outside. Standing before the gates of the Namikaze estate, he remembered how Hayashi Hyuga and Inoichi Yamanaka had insisted on purchasing the land as a gesture of respect. This home would belong to him and his future family, as they worked to restore chakra to the world alongside the Namikaze clan. Pulling out his phone, Izuku skimmed through the latest hero news, keeping himself updated on current events. After reading the headlines, he pocketed his phone and sprinted toward Yue, eager to reach the safety of the school. However, as he approached the gates, he noticed a group of reporters camped outside, their presence a clear indication of the ongoing media frenzy surrounding All Might's role as a teacher and the recent incident. The reporters had begun to harass students arriving at school, and Izuku knew it was only a matter of time before they turned their attention to him. As he cautiously approached the gates, he noticed a student who had been overwhelmed by the reporters being released, and now they were focusing on him, hoping he would provide some insight into the situation. Yellow Flash, could you share your thoughts on the USJ incident? One reporter asked eagerly. Izuku paused for a moment, recognizing the innocence of the question. He decided to respond without revealing too much information that could harm the school's reputation. The villain attack at the USJ was unexpected, but the staff at UA demonstrated their capability in handling the situation and protecting us students. As he prepared to walk away, a female reporter interjected, eager to ask her own question. Could you tell us why the villain attacked that day? Izuku considered her question carefully and opted for a vague response that would maintain the school's positive image. Izuku stood before a gathering of reporters, addressing their concerns about the recent incident at UA. Our target was All Might, but there's no need to worry. The staff at UA managed the situation effectively without needing the intervention of the symbol of peace. UA is currently the safest school, and our teachers are skilled at adapting to unexpected situations. This incident has provided us with valuable lessons for improvement. Despite how serious it was, we were able to observe our teachers in action and learn what is expected of us as future graduates. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have classes to attend. As he walked away, the crowd of reporters buzzed with excitement, sharing their own reports for their channels. Upon entering the school, Izuku was greeted by several staff members who nodded in appreciation for how he had handled the situation, calming the reporters with his composed responses. Good job handling that problem, child. Aizawa called out. Thank you, Aizawa-sensei. Izuku replied, feeling a sense of relief as he continued down the long hallways of UA. After a few minutes, he reached the door to Class 1A. He took a deep breath and slid the door open, revealing his classmates engaged in lively conversation, seemingly unaffected by the recent events. As soon as he entered, the room's attention shifted to him. Several students rushed over, congratulating him for his bravery during the incident at the USJ. That was so manly, Namikaze bro, Kirishima exclaimed, his eyes shining with admiration. Yeah, you were like whoosh and paw, Toru added, mimicking Izuku's movements with excitement. Kaminari chimed in, I didn't realize your quirk had such capabilities. Teleporting and taking down half the villains? Why can't I do that? The chatter continued until Ida approached Izuku, bowing his head respectfully, followed by Momo, who mirrored his gesture. Izuku felt a wave of embarrassment wash over him. I want to express our gratitude for your actions at the USJ, Ida said earnestly. Without your leadership, we could have been in a much worse situation. It's unfortunate that the staff took credit for your defeat of the Nomu, Yayorozu added, nodding in agreement. Izuku, feeling flustered, replied, Thanks, everyone, but you're giving me too much credit. We all survived together and showed the villains why we were chosen to attend the #1 hero school in Japan. As class president, it was my duty to protect our class, and I'm just glad everyone is doing well, both physically and mentally. His classmates were taken aback by Izuku's humility and selflessness, relieved that their class president was not egotistical. Ida bowed again, saying, "You're the perfect example of an exemplary student." "We've decided to get stronger so we don't burden you," Yaoyorozu added, and the rest of the class nodded in agreement. They understood that being a hero was serious business, and the USJ incident had opened their eyes. Just then, Aizawa entered the classroom, interrupting the moment. "Save your gratitude for the end of class. Right now, we have more important things to do, so take your seats." The students quickly settled down as Aizawa walked to the podium, observing them carefully. He noted their minor fears, which were understandable, but he felt proud of how they had handled the challenge. "Before we begin class, I want to express how pleased I am with all of you for facing the challenge at the USJ, especially Namikes, who contributed significantly during the fight." The class erupted in cheers, surprised by Aizawa's praise, as he was not known for such compliments. However, the moment was short-lived as they suddenly realized their quirks had been erased. Aizawa had activated his quirk. "Just because I praised you doesn't mean anything changes between us," he warned. "Don't let it go to your heads. Some of you could have performed better, and some acted childishly. That's why the staff plans to increase your training to ensure something like this never happens again." The room fell silent, and a few students who had acted cowardly lowered their heads in shame. Aizawa continued, "Your fight is not over." The class erupted into a mix of panic and confusion at his words, but Aizawa reveled in the moment, enjoying the impact of his vague statements. "I'm talking about the sports festival, you dimwits," he clarified. "That's just a normal school event." The class cheered, relieved. Aizawa activated his quirk again, calming them down. A few students began discussing the upcoming event. "Is it wise to have the sports festival after being attacked by villains?" Jiro asked, her concern echoed by others in the room. "Just because some villain group decided to attack our school doesn't mean we should cancel one of the most important school events," Aizawa replied. "This time, security will be doubled, maybe even tripled, and there will be pro-heroes attending. Your safety is our priority." The class sighed in relief, reassured by the increased security measures, and quieted down to listen to their teacher. For those who don't know, the sports festival is an annual event held in the school stadium where you, as students, will showcase your abilities to the public and pro-heroes. It's a preparation for your future and internships, which we'll discuss in detail after the festival. Yaoyorozu spoke up, "I've heard about the sports festival. We only have 3 years to prove our worth to the pro-heroes attending. If we impress them enough, we could become their sidekicks or improve our chances of opening our own agency after graduation." Aizawa nodded, acknowledging Yaoyorozu's point. "That's why we can't cancel this event. It's extremely important for your future as aspiring heroes. Now that this is over, you have another week to prepare for the sports festival. We want you all to be at your best, so use this week wisely and show everyone what Class 1A is capable of." He would have continued, but the homeroom class was over, so he quickly dismissed everyone and settled in for a catnap. 10 minutes later, Kaminari attempted to leave the classroom, only to find a crowd of students blocking the exit. "What's going on? I won't let you take us hostage," he exclaimed, panic rising in his voice. Ida, puzzled, asked, "What are you all doing blocking our exit?" Katsuki, walking out with his sister, wore a scowl. He felt frustrated, reminded that he had long since been surpassed by someone he once considered a quirkless loser. "They're checking the competition. We're the only class to have survived a villain attack," Katsuki stated, stopping in front of the crowd, his fierce glare intimidating some of the students. "Get out of the way, extras," he barked. "Katsuki, no." Izumi shouted, alarmed. Eno sighed, "Here we go again." "Oh my." Hinata gasped. Shikamaru yawned, "Troublesome. Things will get very difficult." Choji added, munching on snacks. The commotion escalated as everyone in the class reacted to Katsuki's behavior, noticing the red paint on the back of their heads. Among the crowd stood a young man with messy, indigo-colored hair and striking purple eyes. He looked at the scene with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. "Is everyone in Class 1A like this?" he asked. Before Katsuki could escalate things further, Izuku stepped forward and swiftly subdued him with a neck chop, dropping him to the ground. "I apologize for him," Izuku said with a kind smile. "I'm Izuku Namikaze, the class president of Class 1A. How can we help you?" The girls in the crowd found themselves blushing at his charming demeanor. Shinso replied, "Well, at least not all of Class 1A are arrogant. I just came to see what the hype is about your class, but I don't see what's so special." "Hey, that was uncalled for," Shiro shouted. Izuku raised his hand, silencing Shiro and any other classmates who might have retaliated. "You're right, we're not special," Izuku said, maintaining his kind smile. "We're just students who managed to survive a villain attack. There's nothing to brag about. I'm just glad we all came back relatively unharmed. Now, could you please not block the exit? Some of us want to prepare for the sports festival." Gradually, some students moved aside, creating a path for Class 1A to exit. However, Hitoshi wasn't finished. As Izuku walked away, he called out, "Just so you know, this sports festival is an opportunity for all of us in the general department and those who didn't make it into the hero course. I intend to win this and become a hero." Izuku paused, turning back with a smile. "Sure, I look forward to it. After all, actions speak louder than words, and we'll see if you can back them up in a week. So, you better train well." "Class 1A president is so manly," someone shouted. "Agreed," Kirishima added, tears of admiration in his eyes. As Izuku walked away with Hinata and Eno, he remained unaware that he had caught the attention of two powerful girls. "He's interesting and quite charming," one of them remarked. "Agreed, but let's see what he's capable of doing in the sports festival," the other responded. With that, everyone headed home, determined to prove their worth in the upcoming sports festival.